to Volya Radio. Slava Ukraini!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I hope you're having a good day. I don't see my guys. Oh, I see one of them now. There we go. There's one. And I hope things are going well for you. And, oh, here comes the other one. The slacker, man. He's a slacker. I love to give Will a hard time. He wouldn't know what to do with his life if I didn't give him a hard time. All right, let's see here. Boom. Let me do it. Oh, I know. That's what. Will, are you up a speaker?
Aye, Captain.
All right.
Bonjour.
There we go. Hey, you there, Jom. How are you?
All right, can't complain. Apparently, if you do, nobody listens.
This is very true. I'm not going to listen anyway, at least not to Will. Sorry. I love giving him a hard time. Anyway.
What's this French, John? When you pop in, you're supposed to say, something like I'd say, "Regiment Choshiwa de Dosuka."
知らんわ。何言ってるかわかんないからね。
There we go. That's what we like to hear. Sean's coming to us from Japan. I'm in Perth, Western Australia. Good morning, Kyiv, to all you English speakers in Ukraine or anybody who's listening in to find out what's going on in the war in Ukraine. John, I am going to do the needful and pack the nest, and you can entertain the folks with whatever your whatever your priority thing you want to talk about today is.
Would you like a timestamp?
Oh, yeah, you can do that, yeah.
Or you can waste time with that, too.
Go on then, Prince, off you go. Do what you got to do.
All righty then. It is currently Saturday, June 13th. You missed Friday the 13th by a day, it looks like. And in Cockbridge, in the UK, it is 6:02 a.m. And so if we go to Cockbridge, we must go to, I guess, just plain and simply Dick, just outside of Stuttgart, where it is 7:02 p.m. And in New York, Ukraine, it is 8:02 a.m. In the workers' paradise of Cockburn, Australia, it is 1:03 p.m. Then at the Kinky University in the Osaka, Japan area,
Yay.
it is currently 2:03 p.m. I wonder if that's a place you hang out at sometimes. And in Peculiar Knob, Australia, it is 2:33 p.m. In Sausage Gully, in Australia, it is 3:03 p.m. And then in Dildo, in Newfoundland and Labrador, it is 2:33 a.m. And in, let's see here. No. We're just going to go for tight squeeze. Oh, no, let's go for Hornytown. In Hornytown, North Carolina, it is currently 1:03 a.m. And in Ding Dong, Texas, it is 12:04 a.m. Now we revert back to Friday, June 12th, where people are still experiencing their Friday nights. In Dickweald, Colorado, it is 11:04 p.m. And let's see, in Whiskey Dick Mountain, Washington, it is 10:04 p.m. And then let's check out one more place here. I guess we're going to have to go with Slime Village in Alaska, which is a nickname for Lime Village. Slime Village in Alaska, where it is 9:04 p.m. because we still have a bunch of daylight. And so that Alaska, where Sarah Palin can see Russia from her house, and she stalks me. And Yeah, something about a lover maybe one day, but I think she's not going to get back into politics. And if she does, I don't think it's going to go very well for her. I hope you all are doing very well today. And John, how are things in Japan? You know, how is the vending machine situation looking like in Japan? Because I know you can get crickets and sake out of a vending machine there.
Sake, certainly. I'm not sure about the crickets. I think you're just making that up, Prince. But whatever. Yeah, the vending machine is stable and ongoing, so we're okay with vending machines. Anywhere you go, you can pay by phone now through a vending machine. It's all very high tech. But yeah, it's kind of, we're moving into early summer. It's bloody hot. I've been out in the garden trying to tame the jungle, and that's a bit exhausting. But nobody really wants to hear about that. So I was kind of looking through a few things earlier on today, Will, if you've got half an ear on what I'm warbling on about. And before I went out in the garden. And there's a few things that are kind of standing out for me as I was looking through various posts at 6 o'clock this morning. One is that Russian logistics continue to get shellacked, which I'm sure we can go into. I'm sure there's more we could talk about on that. Also interested that the EU appears to have information that China has been training Russian soldiers. China, who are not interested in the war and are not taking sides in it, apparently. And also, this kind of army overhaul thing probably deserves a little bit of discussion. I think the Ukrainians are apparently trying to make life in the army a little bit more, I'm sure it's pleasant, but kind of so that it feels like they've got a bit more understanding of what's going on within the army. I think they're also looking to increase pay and so forth. So that could be also something we'll be interested in looking at, Will. But I guess what Will is probably more interested in is what things are burning and why they're burning, how long they're likely to burn for, and what effects that burning will have. But there we go. That's kind of where I am. I would just quickly point you to, I'm sure Will has put all sorts of things in the nest, but if you go right to the right-hand side, you'll see our ongoing suggested fundraisers. We don't take money ourselves, of course, you'll all know that by now. But there are a few trusted fundraisers that we have, not me personally, but we've met and talked with these people and know that they're all above board and doing important things, including our dear friend War Doggo, who has a proactive fundraiser. You can see that, I think it's the third or fourth tweet from the right in the nest. And also, we're always looking for volunteers, so you don't have to listen to me. So there's a form that you can fill in and come and join us on Volya Radio. But here we are. It's Will and I for the next 2 hours, I think, until Mockers and probably Firefella, I would imagine, will be coming up to take over. And we'll bring you up to date on Ukraine-related news and all of the terrible things going on inside Russia. And we'll keep you abreast of the situation. That'll probably make Prince giggle. But anyway, there we go. Will, are you still nest stuffing, or is it done?
I think I probably have enough up there to get started with. It takes all the way through the round the world timestamp to get all the ads up there these days.
I know,
I
right?
should get minions. We should get minions to work for us. But I do also have some stories that we'll talk about. So thanks for doing the ads there, John. Because we are here to, of course, try to help bona fide NGOs get some money together to help out Ukrainian service members or humanitarian causes or stolen children or anything like that. You've probably seen them all before, but do take a browse through the fundraisers that we support in the nest, whether it's a book you need to, that would be a good gift if you want to talk to somebody about Ukraine, or dispel some disinformation, and poetry. And then of course all the other units, the medics we support, April Huggett and Rebecca Makiowski, all of the units that we work with through War Doggo, SBU Alpha, 18th National Guard, and related parties like Ivan and Alexandra Iliukhina, who will be here with us later on today. I'll get a tweet up about that, and put it in the nest. The Gun Bro team are going to come in, and we're going to talk to them today about shotguns and anti-drone technology and where the race is at between those things, and of course get his commentary on the current developments in Russian technology in that area. So hey, let's start off where you did, though, John, because I think it could easily be missed in the passing of discussion. But China, having trained Russian soldiers that then ended up working at the front, I thought China was supposed to be neutral.
Well, that's exactly what I thought, Will. But what's really surprising is that doesn't appear to be the case. Can you imagine?
Well, I don't see how them claiming not to have taken any side, whatever, is conducive with them setting up a situation like the proper allies of Ukraine are doing. Britain, all the others that have done Operation Kudu, like Australia and that. And look, I have no problem with China doing it if they've declared a side here, but I hadn't heard them declare a side. I'd heard them declare neutrality, and you can't train the soldiers of people. They've long claimed they haven't provided any material support directly to the war effort of Russia, which I think if forensically we could go through all the North Korean support, we'd probably find a nice little bleed in of Chinese support all along the way. But even discounting that possible, them directly training soldiers of Russia in combat training or whatever they wanted to train them is direct material support for the Russia's war effort, in my opinion, and needs to be called out. So I'm glad you spotted it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you say, if you go through all of the stuff that had come in from North Korea, it'd be pretty obvious that it would have had some amount of. Sorry, I'm just trying to bring up the article. They would have had some amount of input from the Chinese, I think. They are pretending to be neutral. It's clearly not the case. If you're going to declare a side, declare a side. Absolutely agree with you on that. This is reported in the Kyiv Post, by the way. So I don't think it's like some weird conspiracy theory going around on Twitter.
Oh, no, it's been picked up by multiple reputable outlets, hasn't it?
So they've been training these soldiers, as you say, later fought in Ukraine. The EU official was quoted as saying this. A new source of tensions between Brussels and Beijing, and that the training took place in several locations on Chinese territory. And we are talking about hundreds of people, but we're talking about hundreds of people, so it's not a huge amount. But it does contradict what China has been saying so far.
It's really funny. It's kind of weird, strange too, that the Chinese, who have no direct battle experience, are training Russians who actually have direct battle experience in sort of basic training or something, whatever they're teaching them. I've seen the Chinese do some pretty acrobatic looking drone drills themselves, but mostly that was just hiding from stuff where Ukraine's teaching them to shoot them down with a shotgun before they even get that close. And Magyar commented on some of that Chinese training with those guys dodging behind stuff, how to dodge behind trees and things and dodge drones. But he posted just one of those videos and went, "Nice try," because the drone lands right behind the guy who's obviously run around this mock-up tree in this Chinese training ground to get away from this thing, but he's still exposed to the direct force of the blast, and it's maybe a meter and a half away. And if you're standing within 5 meters of a hand grenade and don't have something to block you from it, you're supposed to basically be dead. So yeah, it's I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how they're training. I don't know what's effective on. Maybe they're training on drones. I don't know if it's useful or non-useful, but it seems strange, and it's clearly material support for Russia in this war. They're already heavily supporting their economy in multiple different ways, whilst also trying to gain power and influence over the country, the eastern part of Russia in particular, along the way, right? Because China wants to eventually cannibalize the imperialist by being imperialists themselves in their own little red Chinese way. So it's a disturbing development, but it's something we suspect will come. But don't ever let anybody tell you that China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia aren't aligned now, because it's clearly the case. Russia can't, or China can't say we're neutral and standing on the sidelines and um, give material support to the Russian economy, obviously, vast amounts of it, and give material support to the military as well. So, fuck China, I think, is where we land on that one, John.
Oh, I think we do, yes. And just to, well, not rehashing old news really, but I mean, of course, the Shaheds, all those years ago now, they came in from our friends in Iran, North Korean soldiers, of course, in Kursk. Now the Chinese doing this. I mean, it's pretty clear who's aligned with who. You close your eyes as much as you want to, but they may not have a lot in common in terms of what they're about politically, but they have a lot in common with how they are autocratically and how they want the world to be. So yeah, they're kind of
joined together by their hatred.
Exactly. Yeah, there's this kind of alignment of convenience. It may be, but it's definitely an alignment. And you and I know, Will, that our friends in China are kind of messing around in the seas around our countries too, and they're far more subtle about it, but they're at least as imperialistic as the Russians are. Back to you.
But did you see that the Chinese are always also worried about biologically engineered spying fish and turtles and stuff that probably the Japanese are launching at them?
Oh yeah, we can do those things, and give us an evening, we'll get that sorted out. Yeah, no problem. And also there's a whole lot of stuff coming out of China about how Japan is becoming militaristic and blah, 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 and all this sort of stuff. And we're just trying to defend ourselves really against you.
Yeah, and
anyway.
note that they're taking the opportunity to ramp up their rhetoric against Japan because they're in this alliance and sense a growing power and can take on long-held grudges. And you'd have to say China and Japan would have some of the most long-held grudges in the history of the world. Anyway,
Bold.
yeah. Anyway, so let's turn from Ukraine's enemies to shit that's on fire, yo. Because John, he hit it right on the head. Of course, if it bleeds, it leads. If it burns on Good Morning Kyiv, it definitely leads. And when I went off air yesterday, this refinery had not long after I just put the summary together of it, and then I went offline, and then I saw some more video because I commented on this as soon as it came up yesterday, but then immediately, well, several hours after that, more and more video came out, and there was a bit of a question about whether or not it was the Tanaco refinery or the Tatneft refinery next door, but it's actually both. So best of both worlds, with both the petrochemical refinery that makes polymers and materials of a petrochemical nature over there and sends them everywhere around the country, but particularly over to that Yellow Booga drone factory where they make Garans. So loving seeing that one hit. And then a fuels refinery as well was hit there that produces the precursors for stuff going into the petrochemical plant, but also produces quite a lot of fuels itself, concentrating on aviation fuel. Yes, aviation fuel. And we'll talk about outages in aviation fuel because they'll add to what we already know. And were you here for hot or cold yesterday, John?
I don't think I was. No, I was a bit like
Right,
tied up with other stuff. Yeah, go
so
ahead.
I'm going to name a refinery, and you tell me whether it's hot or cold, meaning hot is operating or cold, dead to the world on firms.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, let's there. I've actually got a list of the fifth top
Can I
50. Go ahead.
can just say everybody listening, you can join in at home. Just shout at the radio, not the radio. Shout at your phones, hot or cold, and we can all have some
Exactly. Yeah.
participation.
You use the emoji. Um, so we'll start over in an easy one. Kyiv, which is very close to St. Petersburg, and is the major oil. That was the major gasoline and exporter from the country. Kyiv, hot or cold?
Hot as in burning, but cold as in offline.
No, hot is operating, or cold is offline.
Cold.
It is cold, yes. Yep, it get cold as. So the second largest refinery, not the largest, Omsk, but the second largest refinery is dead cold, as is uh, as is Yaroslavl partially, and which has only got portion of the one crude unit in the south. That's the fifth largest refinery. And Volgograd, the sixth largest refinery, is also um, only showing very low activity in some in some units, and could rightly be considered offline. But I'm going to call it half. I'm going to give it half of its capacity online, just to be
Epic.
conservative, as well as Yaroslavl. Now, Ruzzian, what do you think, John?
Cold.
Yeah, dead cold. 5 strikes in that refinery a week ago, and hasn't moved a muscle since they got the fire out. Kostovo, which is out northeast of Moscow.
Lukewarm.
Dead cold, and you forgot that one was even on the list. I bet there were so many hit. So out of the top 34 refineries, I think just on under half of them, 16 or 17 are offline, and or showing minimal activity with their flare and their process unit heaters. So Russia is literally running right now at 51%, 50% capacity of its refining capacity is essentially offline right now, 51%. And that is an amazing result. And it comes as a result of striking all the biggest refineries and then all the ones that you could get to in this second, third week, but striking all the biggest refineries you could in the first week or week and a half, and then pressing on for as many of the refineries that you could reach out and touch again that had either come back online or were not hit before in the earlier two campaigns that were run in 2023 and 2024, 2023 and 24, and then seriously in 2025. So they've done all the damage that they did in those previous iterations, having the time each time. You know that rule in computers, Dom, that things get twice as powerful and half as expensive in each iteration of the computer uh, uh, power iteration. Have you ever heard that?
I have indeed, yes.
Well, the first year's campaign to take refinery capacity offline in Russia took 3 months. The second campaign took about 6-7 weeks, and the current one has taken about 2 weeks to get the same result or better. And now, right now, Russia's got 51% of the capacity offline. 35, well, a 33% caused Russia in the previous campaigns to suspend the sale of gasoline and diesel fuel overseas. Final product, because they sensed a shortage to maintain capacity inside the country, meet their long-term export contracts themselves, and satisfy customer, just general service station customer need. So they still had some outages, right? They still had some shock outages. Well, this time around, the shock outages are starting almost immediately, within a week or so, and they are clearly not being able to handle mutual aid the way they would. For instance, so the graph of all of the, or sort of the graphic of all the map of the regions where shortages have occurred, you should note some interesting things about that map when you look at it. Look at how many are concentrated over in the far west of the country this time. Although Russia tried to deal with it the way they always do, by taking the supply out of the eastern supply of the country and making those people suffer, when in fact the cause of the incident is locations over there in the far west of the country, the regions that are now colored immediately in the after effects, because Kazan in particular, which is the capital, that is where these two refineries in Tatarstan, Nizhny Kamsk, were struck, already has shortages at its own branded service stations, Tatneft, in Kazan. That is a pretty instantaneous effect. And what I think's going on here, John, is 35%, 35% where they got before caused them to do the export ban, but they could still manage inside the country. Once you get down to 50% of your refining capacity offline, I think it starts to become a hunger game between the military and their guaranteed supply, commercially, and agricultural supply, and the rest of the population. And the rest of the population is going to get the shaft earlier rather than later, in this current round. But there's no sign that this is abetting by Ukrainian stance.
It's just, yeah, well, yeah, just actually to pick a sort of a thought on what you just been talking about. They've been taking out a lot of storage as well, haven't they? Not the refineries, the other ones, the word I've forgotten.
Depot.
If they can't, yeah, the depot, if they can't store the stuff, then presumably the kind of the lead time between refineries getting hit and shortages being there is going to be shorter as well. So
You're dead right. Yeah, no ability to be resilient to shocks.
yeah, so that's probably a part of it too, why it's sort of coming on so quickly, the shortages are. And as
Yeah,
you said,
and
yeah, the military will probably be prioritized, I would imagine, and everybody else, it's like every person for himself, his or herself.
yeah, and if you're just living in a city, driving your own personal car back and forth to work, or living your life, you're going to be last on that list for the supply chain.
Walk.
Exactly, and they'll make you make unbelievably terrible decisions too. Like, not only can you no longer drive your car, but they're going to stop the bus services too, right? Like they stopped the train services in Crimea, just out of necessity. Eventually, at the end of the day, won't have fuel for everything, and they'll shut the trains down. But they've done it already in Crimea, which means you don't have a car and you don't have the access to the train system. I guess you walk, or you pay an exorbitant amount for a taxi or whatever. Ofto bus. Oh, have you ever had to ride the Ofto bus in Russia? It's a filthy, stinking, like, little coaster or smaller bus, and you get crammed in there with the vilest part of humanity.
Sounds lovely.
But it's dirt cheap.
Yeah, there you go then. And if that's what, is it like horse drawn or something? Because I mean that's another option that they may
Oh
have.
no, it'd be it'd be farting, diesel-y smelling fumes.
Fantastic. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned Crimea. I don't know, we can probably come on to that later, but the bridges are getting a bit of attention, aren't they, as well?
Yeah,
So I don't
good.
think things are going. I don't think things are going to be getting much better there anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't believe it is, because this does continue into today. The I put Max, just a simple picture up there. You've probably been following this, if you're interested in Ukraine. You've probably been following this in detail through some of the military analysts. But Max does a good job of just having the overall picture with X marks the spot on all the strikes that have taken place, and you can see on the two arteries that they've got out of two major arteries out of Crimea, that clearly uh, all the primaries are, one of the primaries is knocked out, and the other strikes are steering all traffic down the one road that still crosses near Armyansk, and that's causing a traffic jam and shall we say, a shooting gallery for other drones.
Very reminiscent of the 3 days to Kyiv thing.
Yeah, you're right. That's right.
But it's very smart, isn't it? You close off one, you force them the other way, and then pick them off one by one. Okay,
Yeah,
it's
or in
so
big
smart, all
parking
these things
lots
they
where
do,
they
aren't
get
they?
jammed
Oh,
up before going over the bridge.
I beg your pardon. Sorry.
Well, they have traffic jams too.
Absolutely, yes. So, and this is the road that leads back across the inverted commas land corridor bit that has now become largely untenable, from what I understand.
Yeah, largely. And look, I think they've probably done some work on the pontoon bridge Russia has, in order to try to get Chongar back up and operating. But it looks like there's been another strike on Chongar overnight. So Ukraine's not done there, and obviously and clearly the intent is to cut off all supply to Crimea from the north, and starve all of Crimea of everything it needs to fight a war. And by just looking at the picture, it looks like it's functioning so far. And I'll just note that the the numbers of drones. So what they're doing north and east of this then is also picking off stuff on the roads. The road from Mariupol up to Donetsk, and the road from Mariupol over into Taganrog in Russia, both are still hunting and killing grounds for mid-range drones, and they're striking. They are now trying to eliminate all the remaining capacity to supply Crimea from the north, as well as monitoring the remaining road in there, and hunting on it. It's and Russia kind of has no choice, but is falling right into the trap of trying to move a lot of vehicles through that Armyansk area, and they've already on the first day got caught in a serious situation where vehicles parked up waiting to get across the bridge, and, and clear a traffic jam, were targeted by Ukrainian drones of the USF, and boom, because those were in fact mostly fuel and ammunition trucks, John.
There you go. Absolutely. And yeah, they're taking out the things that are trying to bring stuff in for their defense around Zaporizhia and down to Kherson and all those areas as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's such smart strategy, isn't it? I mean, like once the fuel couldn't come over the Crimean Bridge, not the Crimean Bridge, what's it called? The
Kerch.
Putin Bridge. Kerch
Oh,
Bridge, that's the one.
Chongar
Yeah,
and
yeah, that's your Kerch Bridge, yeah. And then they took out all of those all the shipping that could come across that way. So then that was all cut off. Okay, we'll bring it down the road, blah 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 blah. And suddenly they're all getting absolutely shellacked down there. So I would imagine, as you say, it's a pretty desperate situation for anybody who's still on Crimea. Not much fun for the Ukrainians, but the Russians can just go home. The bridge is still there. Walk if you have to, but it ain't going to get any better.
yeah, and I'm absolutely certain I won't put them up and talk about them, but the tales of woe from people in Crimea are exactly what you say, the woe is me sort of thing. Um, uh, and they're voting with their feet, which is exactly what you'd like to see Russians do from Crimea: is vote with their feet to go back to Moscow or wherever the hell you're from in Russia, and abandon whatever holding you thought you were going to have in Crimea, and hopefully soon out the door also will start to be some of the military folks, but that remains to be seen, right? It's a campaign we have to keep watching and see if Ukraine is able to maximize its advantage. And multiple people are now saying, including the ISW, that Ukraine has a tactical drone advantage, a mid-range drone advantage, and a strategic strike advantage over Russia. Now, the strategic strike advantage, of course, is because Russia refuses to use its weapons the right way. It uses them to terrorize civilians. And whilst claiming that Ukraine is terrorizing civilians with their strikes, we all know what's happening, because you don't get fuel shortages uh, in Russia at service stations without the refinery strikes being phenomenally effective. You don't shut off all access to foreign capital in sales of jet fuel, gasoline, and diesel fuel without having a crisis on your hands with regard to refining. And even the number that they talk about, John, that they say, that the Vatniks will say, yeah, but yeah, Russia moved a very large amount of crude last month or last quarter, bigger than earlier early in the war. So over capacity of what they normally would move out over Ust-Luga, and basically just under capacity at Primorsk, but still a good number for what they were moving out of there. And they're also pushing out into the market uh, heavy diesel fuel, bunker diesel, the stuff that you could turn around in your refinery and make um, gasoline out of if you had some cat crackers and high end technical unit operations. But clearly, Ukraine's been striking high tech gasoline production and operations, reformers, platformers, polymerizers, isomerizers, you name it. If it's in Russian refineries, they're targeting gasoline production, cat crackers, everything. So they did that campaign, and you can see that Russia is dumping mazut, this heavy gas oil, on the market, because they're trying to maximize the amount of straight run gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel that they're making into the marketplace, because and they're dumping the mazut, they call it, because they have to. They have no capacity to further refine that heavy gas oil, so they're dumping it on the market cheaply as marine diesel or whatever. And India is happy to buy it, and China's probably happy to buy it. And so, yeah, that's the stuff they're moving. The key is, yeah, they're moving record volume, well, short-term record volumes of crude and mazut out of their export terminals, including Cosmino, way over on the East Coast, which is pushing a lot out, 125% capacity there. Um, they're selling a vast amount, well, a significant bump in their crude output, but they're getting nothing for it. Well, their revenue has fallen 19% because they're selling it to China and India that get massive discounts on it. So even though the price in oil has basically doubled, they're still not covering they're not making any serious profit off of crude oil sales. What they're doing is they're trying to maximize their revenue, regardless if they're making profit or not. Because, as I've said many times, the key for them is the revenue thing, so that their euros and dollars can keep flowing. But they're not getting more revenue because they're selling at such discounts. And so that all these things together demonstrate that this campaign from Ukraine, both at the strategic level and at the mid-range level, is paying off in causing problems inside wherever Ukraine focuses on. Shortages in Crimea will definitely be more exacerbated over time. You hear people in the military blogging area of Russia now complaining and saying they need to ramp up maximum volume that they can get over the Kerch Bridge now, because they're basically getting nothing down through the railroads and roads of Zaporizhia and Donetsk, and so they're running out of supply. They need to ramp up the only available one to them, which has got to be the road bridge that's in service. It's probably at pretty serious risk though, because remember it was derated, and they weren't letting passenger cars across it that were more than more than a ton. So, well, they said that, but we obviously saw some vehicles breaking that, but not more than a ton. And so, if Russia's going to put that bridge back into service, or ramp up for the tractor trailer type movement across it, major road trucks, then it's probably time to do some damage to that. I would think. Wait till they get using it and then smash it and knock it out. I would say, because as John said, the roll-on, roll-off ferries, the very large ones and the secondary ones that Russia moved in, have been destroyed and sunk. And the car ferries, which are probably still operating, aren't going to move any massive amounts of traffic. If they're and passenger ferries, that they're going to have to go into a, a a British form of a flotilla to get the people off of Dunkirk or keep them. We don't see any of that Dunkirk type action yet in Crimea across the straits of the Kerch Straits. So I don't think that they will get to that point, but maybe. It might be, their routes out, unless they want to surrender, are getting fewer and fewer each day.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I was going to ask you, Will. Presumably, judging by the success of avoiding air defense everywhere else, Ukrainian sort of medium range strikes could hit that bridge now. They just haven't tried very hard recently.
You're right, yeah.
And so you assume that they're leaving the bridge alone because they want to leave a route out, I would guess. And unless it becomes critical with a lot of fuel and stuff to sustain Crimea coming over it, I don't think they're going to hit it, are they?
I don't know. Look, if Russia attempted to make any major movement of military equipment, a major evacuation of Crimea, it might warrant knocking out the bridge to make sure they couldn't do that, so that they had to escape with just their lives, and then let them do that by however means they can, passenger ferries, whatever. But so it might be militarily important to knock out the equipment, but it really depends on the status and numbers of the equipment that Russia has remaining in Crimea. I don't mean to say that they've got nothing left, but Ukraine's doing a fantastic job every night of hunting and killing air defense radars, fuel depots, whether they're full or empty. I mean, Ukraine is methodically going through this. This is like you said before, it's a joy to watch. If I'm reporting what we're watching correctly, and I suggest that I am, the mid-range strike campaign that we've been following here is isolating Crimea, and they are degrading the remaining Russian capabilities in Crimea as they do that. Fuel storage. I mean, how many times are they going to hit Fedosia oil transfer terminal? Because I counted it knocked out a couple of iterations, and they kept coming back and hitting like literally every last remaining tank. It was starting to look a little obsessive. I was going to do an intervention, John, but they've finally stopped because I think everything is killed at Fedosia.
Enough already. You've done it. It's dead. Yeah. it is something to behold. It really is. It's just smart, strategic, long range planning. As you say, they've got a list of things to hit, and they're just ticking them off one by one. And
And the medium range drones. I think the FP2s probably could reach the ones they're using on Changar Bridge. Could very possibly make it to the Kerch Bridge. Note, however, that the in the video that we put up yesterday, and the commander talking about those strikes, as you watch the video, they're capable of flying in and having a high explosive make a puncture hole in a bridge, which with enough of them can cause that panel to be structurally incapable of taking a load, and with risk of breakage or actual breakage. Um, um, it's kind of like poor man's HIMARS, if you will. I mean, because they're flying the drones in there, and the size of the explosion is like one Gimler's rocket. They're not being able to lay them out in an absolutely perfect straight line, 6 of them right down the center of a bridge, which is very impressive for, if you got U.S. money, right? If you got U.S. sort of dollars, money, and equipment like that, then they can do that. But the picking apart of the Changar Bridge that they've done, and the others at Henichesk, all basically show that they're trying to do that. They're trying to puncture and structurally weaken the panels and not take out the piers, but they are taking out uh, uh, infrastructure that's important that also use those bridges, pipeways, and the gas pipelines, fuel pipelines, water pipelines, electricity conduits, all tend to use those bridges as their means of crossing as well. And you see that Ukraine's knocked out a gas pipeline across one of those bridges for sure, and it was blowing a big fire across the deck, which was great, right? That's going to stop traffic. Uh, but really taking out the bridges so that they can't ever be used again, of course, goes to getting the piers, which we talked a little bit with Smokey about yesterday. But I think, as you've well, just taking out the road decks might be very advantageous at some point on that Kerch Bridge. Whether or not they can, how many FP2s they'd have to use to be able to do it, and before the thing drops, um, who knows? And boy, they'd have to be really, really accurate with them. But I think they are really, really accurate with them, John. So yeah, they might have the tool for the job there. Certainly, I could drop that Kerch Bridge panels with probably one or two flamingos, and that's very short distance for those to have to travel. So you'd think they could do it with those themselves. But what we've always talked about is being able to have a deep penetrating warhead like on the Taurus, so you could go for the bases of and the solid portions of those piers. And if you take the piers out and they fall, the bridge is gone for good. But this is kind of like U.S. support. How would we do this if we have all the tools available to us? We'd use Taurus. But how could we have the same effect, at least in the short term, with a tool we've got at hand? You'd have to say flamingos, or these FP2s, or bars, any of the loitering munitions they've got that can do a good job of dive bombing. For instance, even the light and sprightly FP1 long range, the Luties that we've been using to take out sympathetic targets in far off reaches of Russia in the form of refineries, could actually be used as a very pinpoint dive bomber because it carries quite a little kinetic energy with it as it falls onto a target, and they are phenomenally good at dive bombing them. So, yeah, I think they could take out the Kerch Bridge panels if they needed to, and I would hope. Well, they probably have it on their list of things to do, John, once certain conditions are met, because with this sort of shaping operation, they're literally trying to starve Russia out as much as possible of things they need to operate in as a military, as a military. So they're really going after fuel, ammunition, and stuff like that. If they can keep Russia from supplying that at any significant rate, and then they cause them to expend a significant amount of that, which moving it toward the front as it becomes Russia may decide to have to sit on it in Crimea and fight to the last man with whatever they've got. But time is on Ukraine's side if you're starving somebody out, and there's no urgency for Ukraine to do anything. So I wouldn't expect anything to happen right away. And I'd expect Ukraine to watch that Kerch Bridge very closely. And if Russia started using it with a whole bunch of heavy trucks to provide material in the form and tanker trucks particularly, I think I'd drop it now. But they're probably leaving it open so that people can escape. Yeah. Well, the humanitarian nature of allowing people to escape over the Kerch Bridge now before it gets closed once military action starts on the ground.
So kind of, encouraging self-decolonization is the approach there. But I would also imagine, I mean, these are, these things that occur to me as I'm listening to you describe the situation. But I would imagine that the Ukrainians have a very different attitude to the bridges that come across into Crimea from the north and that bloody cursed bridge. And I would imagine that probably they're quite happy to leave the main infrastructure of the bridges from the north because they're going to need them at some point in the future when they take it back. Whereas that bridge, I mean, it's just got to go, the one across to Russia. So maybe that's why they're taking out the panels rather than actually destroying the bridge completely. Whereas they're going to need something big and chunky and very explodey to take out the Kerch Bridge, I would think. But anyway, maybe I'm like way off. There you go, Will.
No, you're right, and you know how we know you're right because that's what they took in there before, right? They took but they took very large, chunky 1,500 kilogram warhead in the form of a USV to the base of the piers there, and tried to knock out the pylons with a submarine based drone, underwater drone. So I mean, that's what you want, big splody. But planning it, putting all the resources into it, when that bridge will come up as a target really depends on a whole number of factors. It might be being left open for humanitarian. They might be watching it and they know that there's no serious supply yet coming across it. They might any number of things. It might be in a time for they're waiting for a trigger to occur to attack, because they would have to expend a significant amount of resources on that in over several days probably, and the cost benefit of that has to be weighed against the knocking out of industries inside Russia, refineries, defense plants, defense manufacturers, missile assembly plants, drone assembly plants. Jom, I'm not going to be able to hold out forever. We're going to have to see a concentrated attack on this Yellow Booga drone factory sometime.
Oh yeah, definitely. And actually thinking about it, I mean, like once like the Russians have gone home and left Crimea, it would be kind of quite satisfying to have a whole ceremony and then somebody push a plunger and watch like half the bridge disappear into the sea. That would be quite a nice way to finish it. But
ribbon cutting and all that.
Oh God, all of that, yeah, sort of, or ribbon sticking together or something. I don't know. Lexicon's up. Go for it.
Hi there. Well, I'm just having triggered in my mind the humanitarian feeling of relieving poor Crimea of the presence of literally millions of orcs. It will be humanitarian indeed. A humanitarian effect to see these people leave. Um, isn't so we keep hearing that Ukraine's working on its own ballistic missiles. And it sounds to me like once they've got a few of those things ready, don't you think they'll be able to? I mean, no matter how defended, we don't hear that Russia's awfully good at defending against big ballistics. They have something called the Behemoth. Behemoth. I don't know if that's the ballistic one they're working on or if it's a
No,
very, very.
the behemoth is looks like a shahed. It looks like a shahed that's been left in a very good pasture and has eaten way too much.
Okay, but yeah, so won't they be able to sort of knock out whatever when they have a ballistic? And isn't a ballistic capable of having a multiple sort of not exact MIRV but cluster type of warhead?
It is, but I don't think you'd use a cluster munition on a bridge. What you'd you'd use a single penetrating charge if you could get one, or a charge that would, on impact and with the kinetic energy, create such a large explosion that it would burst and crumble a lot of reinforced concrete right at the point where it hit, and if you hit right at the top, this is why I said attackums you could have used with the unitary warhead to knock out the Kerch Bridge, because you could aim at all four the tops of all four piers, right where the roadway connects up onto it, if they were accurate enough, and basically knock out the capability for the bridge to hold the roadway. It would fall in, and the places where the roadway got rebuilt would get reconnected to would also be destroyed for a significant period of time, and
Yeah,
Russia wouldn't be able to quickly rebuild. What ideally you want to knock down one of those piers, and I don't know, but
it would be.
multiple of those behemoths coming in halfway up the base, whatever. Don't know.
And for Yalabuga, something with a more spready effect. But if it were delivered by a ballistic missile, I think they're talking about something with quite a range.
Yeah, and Yelabuga is being as far as it is going to need to basically be flamingos, and if we saw flamingos like hit the VNIIR in Cheboksary the other day. That factory hit. That's the kind of thing we, and Votkinsk way up in the missile factory that was hit before with a flamingo. We need to see three. There's 4 or 5 buildings that I've identified out there that need to have 1 or 2 of those flamingos fly through the roof right at shift change, and that factory could be significantly reduced in capacity, right into where the CNC machines are. The beauty about Yelabuga is they've basically showed us where almost everything is, and if you could find out when shift changes is, yeah, I hate to say it, but you could take out 2 shifts of 15 to 20-year-olds that they've enticed to work there, and all their skilled labor would be gone. Not my fault. They put child labor to work, so they're what's considered acceptable collateral damage. And I'm a nasty, nasty man as far as military planning goes, John. But yeah, a bunch of
Did you get your list into the mail, or is it still sitting in your typewriter?
those plans. No, you could read my thread on it. I published a very long thread that I think had
Oh, I just wondered. Yeah,
it
but
had almost
how do we know if?
157 views on that. I think when I put it out, Lexi.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure Budin gets his copy, and Budanov gets his copy.
Well,
It's
see,
gonna,
I
gonna,
think he's making me wait now. He's read it and he goes,
he's
"Oh,
one
this
of the
is really this is really good
157,
work,"
Will.
but I'm going to punish him.
He's one of the 157, Will, definitely.
Definitely one of the 157. So let's see. Yeah, thanks, Elon, for letting us. Repressing. I feel like I'm in a Monty Python scene. Um, So up next, we're going to talk to Yenny about whatever she wants to talk about. But then last on the gasoline thing, folks, you've got to. This is this is really good theater. I put it way up over on the left hand side of the nest to go with the other fuel related issues and refineries, and we'll move on. But you've got to see Zakharova appealing to friendly nations, which I'm assuming can only be China and India and Iran and North Korea. To help them, well, maybe Belarus, to help them out with their fuel problem, because nothing to see here. It's not a problem. It's just a PR stunt being done by Ukraine, but we're having some problems with fuel supply, and we'd love it if you'd help us with support for gasoline, diesel, or even jet fuel, because there are jet fuel restrictions at a number of airports in the west of Russia right now, where you're basically not allowed to top up with anything. When you're not allowed to ask for fuel, it's got to be a pre-scheduled fuel reloading for you when you get there. Otherwise, you can't have any, and that's pretty special. Fuels. These problems are happening very quickly now at the fuel bowsers and airplanes and everything in Russia, because the capacity reduction has been high enough, and if we see Ukraine sustain it at this level, the reduction is going to be so good that we're going to have this Hunger Games between the military and agriculture and commercial activity, and hopefully lots and lots of discontent at the same time. And it's real. Russia's asking for help, and they're propagandizing about the fact that it's all just a PR campaign. It's no military value, Jom. I kid you not. The Russian government said specifically that the Ukrainian campaign on refineries is just a PR stunt to terrorize the population of Russia, and is having no military value whatsoever.
There you go. Well, just so long as that's cleared up, eh? Also, I mean, this asking for help is not asking for help at all. It's just looking for a series of goodwill gestures, I think we might describe it as. But anyway, that was pretty funny. Yenny, go ahead.
Well, now I have more things that I wanted to say than when I originally raised my hand. I'll start with, I believe it was in the 90s, or maybe it was in the early 2000s. My aunt's ex-husband was the head of the airport, of Arlanda Airport. Or no, maybe it was just a flight tower. Anyways, uh, there was one year in that time period where they banned all of the Russian aircraft to land at Arlanda. They were rerouted to other airports, smaller ones, because they wanted to be airport of the year. And what the Russians used to do was that they would fly into Stockholm, Arlanda, with, like, as they made their final approach, they were basically going on fumes. They only put in as much as they knew would take them to Stockholm, and then they would fill up the plane with the good jet fuel that Sweden has. And then they would fly back, empty out the tanks, top it up again with the Russian jet fuel, and then go to some other uh, another Western airport to fill up with the good stuff. And that was to fuel up their Zukhois. Anyway, you just reminded me of this. Also, they had a line of credit back then. This was back in the days when we thought we could work with Russia. That has long since stopped. Uh, that is not happening today. If they can get into Western European airports, they are not allowed to fill up their planes unless they pay cash on the spot. Yeah, that gives me a lot of pleasure. The other one was because you were talking about like the young people working in the factories, and if you are working putting together drones, and your government has forced you to become a child labor sweatshop, that's not really Ukraine's problem. So Russia, in its infinite wisdom, normal countries, they have fuel trucks. They're like semi trucks with a tanker on the back. I know this because my son sometimes drives those. And you have to, in Sweden, it's a special driver's license to be able to handle fuel, because it can go kaboom, and they want to know that you're responsible and know what you're doing. My son passed that exam.
It's actually two certifications, isn't it? One to drive the class of vehicle and the size of vehicle, and one to handle dangerous goods.
Actually, it's three. because in Sweden, you can get the license to drive the big rig. But if you want to have your main line of occupation be driving that big rig, to be a lorry driver, a truck driver, you have to do a special like work competency examination as well. So he actually has all three of those licenses, and he has because he did it through school and he had so many hours. This is what the Swedish government has done. So because he did it through his high school, he went to like a trade one and he chose transportation. Because he has 3 years of experience driving big rigs at school, he actually has no weight restrictions. Otherwise, you have weight restrictions until either 21 or 25. And then you have to do another exam, and then you get the no restriction one. But he got it
And then you do
straight.
a dangerous goods course,
Yes,
a transport,
yes,
and you can carry fuel and ammunition,
yeah,
and then you can become a real
yes,
target.
yes. So my son, if Sweden ended up going to war, my son would be mobilized to drive, to be a part of the logistics chain because of all his certifications. Anyways, so I don't know what went through the Russian minds, because it is dark and mysterious in that thing, and I would imagine it quite empty. But apparently they have run out of lorries, and so they now put fuel in the back of regular cars, like a regular sedan. One that feels so safe. I wouldn't. That Oh, there's so many safety issues when it comes to that, just like driving
Yeah,
in
yeah,
normal
I know.
times.
If you tried to fill the boot of a regular car up with jerry cans full of fuel just to like do a movie set sort of thing, they wouldn't let you drive it, 300 meters without some safe. Russians are just chucking this all in the back of their car, strapping them together with a bit of tape and going, yeah, good to go. Let's drive to Crimea, probably with fumes affecting them the whole way.
Exactly. But what Russian its infinite wisdom has done is put a target on civilian cars. And I know that the first time they take out one of these fuckers, they're gonna be like, "Oh my God, war crime! It was
No,
a little sedan.
but
It
my
was a little
God, it'll
Lada."
go up.
I know. I saw this yesterday, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is going."
So,
I,
and the tool for this job, if you could get it, is the very small uh, 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 charges they put on the small FPV drones to go after individual soldiers. Believe it or not, this would be the thing to go after these cars with, because if you blew up that thing in the trunk, then the car itself would just do all the rest of the work, the fuel in the back, and it would just make an
I know.
incredibly good explosion.
I know. And I know that Russia would sit there and cry war crime as well. They're like, they hit a civilian target. No, I'm sorry. If you have more than, I don't know how big a jerry can is, like 50 liters or something. If you have anything more than that in your car, you're dumb as fuck. And apparently, this was a good day for you to die. Oh,
I think
I was
those are
laughing.
20-liter cans, and
Yeah.
I saw at least 8 or 10 of them strapped together in the back of a car.
Yeah. And here's the thing. So a jerry can, metal, but the ones I saw, that was plastic.
Plastic,
And
yeah.
I'm like, I don't. Chemistry was not my strongest subject. I was more physics. So physics and biology, I was really good at, but chemistry not so much. But I have a feeling that fuel and plastics, not
Oh no, it's
really
fine.
all
If
that.
they're HDPE, it's fine.
Oh, okay. So is that what we're thinking Russia has?
Yeah, unless because they probably also use HDPE for their water cans. The thing is, the cans that I saw kind of looked whitish, like they were water ones, but they're probably still
Sure.
HDPE. And gasoline isn't gonna melt them or anything like that.
Uh huh.
Not gonna do
That
you
was
much
kind of a
good, whatever
disappointment.
it's made of, if a drone comes in and hits it. But yeah.
Exactly. And so whether this guy makes it to Crimea or not with his Lada, I'm loving the result either way. Either way, he gets blown up on the way, and we get a good show, or he gets to Crimea and starts his own little black market operation to sell fuel, and further adds to the chaos that's going to be the people abandoning uh, uh, Crimea will eventually get quite chaotic, mostly because people wait till too late. But yeah, it's I don't care if I don't those people, those civilians, if they make it, more power to them. They're doing a phenomenally dangerous thing. I can't, I wouldn't let anybody I know do it. But if you want to try that, go ahead. But when you're traveling down the road from Mariupol to Zhankoy, remember Russians closed that road to civilian traffic, so they themselves have defined everything on that road as militarily viable target. Just saying.
Ah, oh my gosh. See, this, I don't even need to say fuck Russia. They're fucking themselves so hard. With a cactus sideways, no lube. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
They eat each day. I have to remind myself this when I say, oh my God, this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. I have to remember to put so far at the end of it because they're like, hold my beer. Let me see if I can do something even dumber. And then you just go like, oh my gosh, you succeeded. I don't know whether to congratulate you or tell you I'm sorry, but they are monumentally stupid. Ah,
Can
yeah, fuck those guys. Thank you.
a country win the Darwin Award, or is it an individual thing?
I think a country can. We can switch up the rules if that's not how it usually is. But yes, that entire nation should win, is the epitome of what a Darwin Award nominee is. The entire fucking nation. Anyways, thank you guys.
Want another one?
Yes.
Okay. So if you go to the nest and go look at the ads, just to the right of the ads, and I'll come back to the ads, but the last two ads are the humanitarian, the Turixis Stroopwafel donation, which is a good thing, and the Humanitarian Research Lab, which we now have a new link to. That the QR code works on it now again, and so we can help those guys out. And right adjacent to that is actually a link to a podcast of a special presentation done by Alan and Ben Goldhagen, who you know here, and Chuck Farr, and Nate from the Humanitarian Research Lab at a Yale reunion event at the end of May, which is why Alan couldn't come join us in Ukraine earlier. But this panel event basically goes through a whole bunch of stuff, right? It's not just drones, or not just the humanitarian research lab or anything. The finding the kids. It's a sample of everything from. Alan moderates the thing, and it's three speakers. Ben, who's got a broad, long experience of what's happened in society inside Ukraine throughout the entire war. Military analyst, of course, uh, in Chuck, uh, who would have been amazingly good for those people to have access to because he's so relatable. And then Nate from the Yale Human Research Lab talking about Natty, they call him, I guess, his team, who's working on identifying the 35,000 stolen children that they've already identified to an evidence level which will be useful in war crimes trials. So that would have been a really great panel. That is up there for you guys to look at, to link to, and watch that on or listen to it on Spotify when you can, because it's a very good presentation at Yale. Lucky guys. I didn't go to a highfalutin university like that, so they've never asked me to do a panel like that. Prince Heather wants to chip in on that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Because in the process of getting that ready to go up well, it's on YouTube also, on our YouTube and our Spotify. I have actually watched that, I think, 3 times in the last few days, and it is absolutely amazing every single time I watch it. And I'm going to work on getting a specific clip of it out. But there's one specific clip towards the end during the Q&A period where Nathaniel answers a question. And basically, what it comes down to is we're already in World War III. And we are in World War III over the rule of law and international law. And what is it, the kind of world and society we want to be? And I'm not doing justice at all to what he says, because what he says is awesome. But what you have there is the experience of Ben having made two documentaries basically about Ukraine already, and having just came from Ukraine recently, and Chuck and Alan, who have, well, we know what kind of work they do, and they've gone and visited all along the front line and talked to these people and seen these places. And then Nathaniel, with the work that they've done over the years with the Humanitarian Research Lab, identifying all these children. And keeping in mind, and he points this out, that it was just weeks after they released their first report that the International Criminal Court released or issued the arrest warrants for Vladimir Putin and Maria Lvova-Belova. And so they are doing very important work. It is so worth taking the time to watch it. It's like an hour and 10 minutes. There's a great video at the beginning to just sort of give you an image of what Ukraine is looking like. And I just encourage everybody to watch it. Take an hour and 10 minutes out of your day and watch it. That's all. I'll shut up now.
No doubt.
Thank you, Will.
Yeah. Good. Worth your time. I just barely started it because Prince only got it in front of me a couple hours ago, and I had to stop doing other things. But I started watching the first part of it, and I'm going to finish it later on today. To finish up, because I promised Yenny this, if you'd like another example of complete shite performance of Russia. Look no further than the next tweet in the nest after the Yale event tweet, because there's and turn the sound up, folks. This is a definitely a sound on video from Michael McKay of air defense operation in Melitopol, a mobile air defense unit. I suspect this is a Pantsir. I might be wrong, but it's probably a Pantsir system being killed by a small first-person drone, which is exactly the tool that you're supposed to be able to kill these small drones with. The gun system going here on this Pantsir and the radar coupled to it are meant to be able to shoot down small drones. That's what they're designed to do. And they're sitting there spraying fire everywhere up into the air from multiple systems. Uh, and then a drone comes in and kills it. I love it. It's my second favorite, Yenny, but first favorite, of course, being when the ATACMS cluster munition variants knocked out the S-300 and S-400 systems near air bases like Jankoy. That was a real thing of beauty. But this is my second. I love seeing Russian stuff be killed by the very tool it was meant to defend against, because it just means, essentially, typically, previously, NATO weapons just better. They just say what they do better, equal to or better what they say on the side of the tin. And the Russian stuff never seems to work right. And this Pantsir system is a particularly good example about this that I keep rabbiting on about. Pantsir are pants, because this Pantsir system is the one that Russia keeps throwing money at. They're up to the M3 version of it already, and it hasn't even been in service all that long. And I think they can make about 30 of these, I think they said a month at maximum. But if they can make these things that fast, it would be amazing. But they're being killed at a rate higher than they're being made. In fact, I don't think they can make 30 a month. I think it was maybe 30 a year. But regardless, they could make 100 a year and they wouldn't keep up with the number they're losing. And the tool is just so bad. But here's the thing. both the head of the lead designer of the Pantsir system and his deputy both ended up one died of poisoning, believe it or not, and one yes he did, he fell out a window. And these are the guys that walked it through certification in the Russian military, and to get it funded by the Ministry of Defense in Russia, and now it's the law. This is the tool for the job. This thing, which gun system can't shoot down drones, small drones, and its missile system tends to favor 13-story apartment blocks rather than big drones that are coming in. But this is the one Russia absolutely obsessively is staying with funding and keeping out there, rather than pulling out old systems like ZSU-23s out of anywhere they're at in storage and refurbishing them and getting them back into play, because for all of its outdatedness, the Tunguska, the ZSU-23 gun system it worked, and that's what Russia would be doing if they had a brain in their head. But no, because the corruption is so good in Russia, so fantastically good at locking things up for long term. This contract is the one that Russia's saying they're going to make this one because it's the best tool for the job. So please carry on, Russia, because they're doing exactly what we like to see them do. Yenny?
So they're doing the reverse of what liberal democracies do. So
Yeah.
I'm super proud of the weapon systems that Sweden has developed and that we have put forth. And one of them, obviously, is the Archer. It's an artillery system. And Sweden has said that the accuracy up to 40 kilometers is something that they can guarantee. If you fire longer than that, it's not, don't count on any massive accuracy, right? I was talking in the back channel with one of the foreign soldiers, and he told me it's actually accurate up to 70 kilometers. Because obviously in Ukraine, they're maxing whatever equipment that they have. And he's like, that thing is dead accurate even at 70 kilometers. And I'm like, but the operational window should just be 40. And he's like, yeah, screw that. We are going to see how far we can push it. And so, two things with this statement: we underestimate our equipment in liberal democracies. Two, Ukraine actually has a program that they have put forth to all the other countries out there. If you research and develop something that you want to have battle tested, send it to us and we will put it to good use in Ukraine to to have encourage the Russians to fuck off home. And we will give you feedback on what works and what doesn't, what could what you could change, or if it's a really awesome system, or whatever it is that you have. Sweden has actually taken this to heart, and they were like, "Hey, let's make new shit and see how it does." And they listen. And I've seen videos with Ukrainians saying that they do listen to the feedback that they're getting, that Sweden actually does pay attention, and they're like, okay, we'll tweak it and we'll send you the next version and you tell us if that's better now. And so that is what all countries should do. Send it to Ukraine, have it battle tested, because they're asking for it. And to me, it says two things: awesome that they're willing to do this, but two, it's kind of sad that they have to reach out to weapons manufacturer and say, hey, do you want to have your product battle tested? Let us know. Instead of, like, that means that the governments are failing. We're not giving them enough when they approach companies to do this. Anyways, fuck Russia. And thank God they're so fucking stupid, because that gives me great joy when I see them doing dumb shit. And this is funnier than watching Jackass on MTV. Just saying. And thank you guys. Fuck you.
Thanks, Yenny. Yeah, you're dead right. Karen, go ahead.
What would you say if I told you that I just read that Elvira Nabiullina, the governor of Russia's central bank, is under de facto house arrest?
I'd say you're reading something that I read an hour and a half ago.
Oh, you beat me to it. Okay. Do you
Karen, I'm
yeah.
always going to beat you to it.
Oh, I don't know about that. Once in a while I surprise
All
you,
right,
but
you keep
it's
playing. You keep playing.
very few times. So most of the time you usually beat me. So what have you heard about it? Because I read that at the end of May and early June, she gave Putin an ultimatum that she would quit and leave the country if Putin starts total mobilization. And this is coming from Igor Sheshku, so I would fact check it because he is not always right on the money. But on the other hand, he started to get better. And what do you think?
Well, what are the facts that we know? We've heard that that story repeated by a number of reputable, or you say semi-reputable, reporters that she is on sort of de facto house arrest, or and that she's asked this compromise. Here, what we know for a fact is she was scheduled to give a talk and serve on a panel, plenary panel, at the St. Petersburg Economic Forum, and hasn't announced that she wasn't going to be doing that on the very morning of it, and then hasn't been essentially seen from since. Although now there are reports of things that she's talking about, but she hasn't. I haven't seen her in public, and I haven't seen anything written that she's presented in public, or spoken to a microphone, or you talk to a reporter directly or whatever since that time, which is not atypical for the head of the central bank of Russia, but it's very possible that she has been given that she has given Putin an ultimatum that says if he does full-on mobilization, she's going to quit and leave the country. The thing is, there's already a law in place that says that she can't quit her job without approval. And if I was going to flee the country, I'm not sure I'd give Putin a heads up about that, because you're likely to end up in the basement of Lubyanka pretty quick. But here again, we haven't laid eyes on her. It's like I said yesterday, Karen, I'm just about to ask for proof of life videos.
So this is coming from a Russian state television editor that has fled the country, and his name is Dmitry Sorokorovyutov, and he's in exile in Switzerland. But yes, proof of life video would be nice. You can't, this is something that we kind of expect. But, I think she's a little more intelligent than just to come out and say that to Putin. Maybe she is just very naive, but that's what Igor Shishko said, that she seems to be a very naive individual. But I don't know.
I would say she's savvy as hell myself. She's been the only person who's been able to really stabilize the economy in Russia and keep it from the worst of its excesses, until tools have been taken away from her and she's been threatened. But Putin specifically passed a decree not allowing people to quit their jobs if they were at senior levels in the Russian government without his approval, and he passed that, or he got that decree specifically because so he could use it on Navalny, which he did before. She's been looking for a way out, but she may have gotten to the point where she kind of threatened him with the fact that unless he was going to imprison her visibly, that she could still possibly escape the country. I mean, but I wouldn't give him a heads up about it. I think it's we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. But the key is their central banker is clearly either in house arrest or self-censoring or something, and she's not helping Russia save its economy or win this war. I think that is good news in itself. We'll wait and find out the details of the rest of it because you can bet that I'm keeping my eye on any sighting of Navalina. Will be very interesting to me. I see we've got War Doggo joining us, and remember, folks, in only about a half an hour, we're going to have Ivan and Alexandra on from Gunbro to talk all things anti-drone. War Doggo, how are you?
War doggo.
Hope everything's fine and everyone is doing okay. Yes, in Russian criminal syndicate Lake, as it called, because Russia is ruled by the mix of KGB and the criminal, which made into one syndicate that that is pretending to be the government of Russia. And so in this friendly corruptive lake syndicate, the only exit is through the window, I believe. So yes, this is most probably very naive and quite underestimating the Russia overall uh, stated. But nevertheless, I'm glad to share with you. And here you can see in the nest that at the top of the hour, in 30 minutes, we're gonna have our dear friends, uh, Ivan Iliukhin and Alexandra Iliukhina, just straight from doing their training work, supported and enabled to expand by your help and your donations, and we'll talk about the anti-drone shotguns. We'll talk about the trainings development and how your support enables what they do in uh in bigger scale versus they could afford that by themselves, because the numbers are speaking themselves. And on a regular basis, with Ivan and Alexander, we are discussing, and Ivan is sharing the details of the trainings on the regular basis. And trust me, the numbers will amaze you, because almost on a monthly basis, 250 trainer, let's say, approach trained individuals that are spreading the knowledge, coming back to their brigades, to their units, is a fantastic fantastic initiative, and is literally saving lives, because, as we already discussed many times, shotgun, it's a fantastic thing that uh, unfortunately uh, transferred from the shooting sport and fan shooting and hunting into actually life saving on the battleground as we know it. And yeah, some of you have going through the trainings, and like literally have the visual in front of you. How does that work? I'm pretty amazed about our discussion in 30 minutes at the top of the hour. If you want, if you want, please share the info you see in the nest about our guests, as soon as we'll have a pretty interesting discussion, I believe, right, Will?
Well, I hope so. We always have with Ivan and Alexandra. Um, but before we do that, before they show up, because I don't want to ruin his day, I want to ask you about something political. You're Ukrainian, and I think I'd like to hear the Ukrainians' voices on something that happened that I just find bizarre. What do you think about the fact that the Department of State has Marco Rubio's congratulated Russia on Russia Day? I mean, is that the most? Well, I think it's one of the most obtuse and offensive things that the Department of State could basically do, because I know about the Russia Day and where it comes from and everything like that. Do these guys not read War Doggo? What do you think about this? Them doing this?
Well, it's wrong in so many meanings that I don't even know from what to start, but that's not unexpected as first, because every moment in history, when I don't know how many already US administrations tried to normalize the relations with Russia, because Russia is big, Russia gets lots of resources, and so far and so on. Uh, and then Russia starts selling all of this. All of their great culture thing and all of the rest, and then at the end it ends up in frustration of the United States and artificial demand and artificial offensiveness by Russia, that something has not been granted that has been agreed. I mean, we've been there, and even if you read the former administration's uh, FBI director Will Burns' book Back Channel, you'll literally see how during Obama's administration, and then after Biden's administration, they were trying to do the same, and the guy who spent their lot years and spent a lot of years not just coming to Alaska like Trump did, but literally uh, living there and being involved in the formal events and informal events. You know how the ambassadors, um, what's kind of specifics of the ambassadors being in life in being in the country, and uh, his words related to Russia in his book Back Channel, that is mainly dedicated to Iran, but Russia has the specific part of the book and specific chapter, and he says simply that whatever you do, however you try to normalize, Russia will invent and manipulate those things. They will feel as offended because it's their part of geopolitics, and this is part of the strategy to behave like this, being always offended, and it means normalizing relations with Russia makes no sense, because every time you will be manipulated, every time you will be in a state that you didn't give them something, but you even don't owe them something, right? uh, and that's kind of the feeling that he gives, and I totally agree with that. And it's just another level of strategic mistake that the US administration is doing, and they have to find with their nose hitting the wall that's the wall. Otherwise they could just simply read a book, right? Or ask the previous administration experts, what does it mean to normalize with Russia. They could remind I don't know, since the time of Kiev chicken speech and all of the other attempts to normalize with Russia. Russia will always screw you up, because that's their I don't know, it's not scientific term, this is in their DNA, to manipulate, lie, and always demand something. You give them the finger and you find their jar being on your elbow, and that's kind of Russian style. So surprised, not disgusting, yes, because we've been there and we know how it's gonna end up. And another strategic, why strategically it is wrong, because that's encouraging everything what Russia's doing, and all of the countries, the autocratic countries that look at Russia, it simply shows that those countries who represent good, or at least better than the autocracy of Russia and countries around Russia, um, representing weakness, and just simply being missed, like they're on the wrong path. And while they're on the wrong path, we can do whatever we want, because it's okay now to solve own problem, own geopolitical concerns using the military power. I mean, that's just simply the time we are heading, and that's actually supported by such small things. You could think, okay, they agreed it, so what? Let's be in realpolitik and so far and so on. That's exactly the realpolitik. When you encourage someone who robbed your neighbor, means you are supporting the bastard who does the crime, and you are part of the crime. That's kind of the bad thing, and you shouldn't be doing that. I don't know, maybe that's kind of wider context behind, but it's wrong in so many layers that we just managed to touch a couple of them. Those are the most.
Yeah,
Back to you.
totally agree. The normalization, in particular, with a genocider, a war crimer, a child stealer of a country, is just so below the United States that this administration is just reprehensible. But from really bad policy decision from the United States related to Ukraine on one area to another bad area of, well, this was an attempt, but I think this one's going to fall like damp squib, because we've heard Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence in the United States, uh, really ineffectual as far as I can tell. I mean, every time we heard her name in this administration, the first year and a bit of this administration, about Tulsi Gabbard, she was always being locked out or left out of some room. Right, the director of national intelligence was being left out of a lot of meetings because a lot of the people in the administration didn't trust her or want her in the room because she was such a broken record about stuff. Well, she's leaving office, but on her last, essentially last day out the door, she's declassified this report, of course, on biolabs, and focuses on Ukraine. But I don't think this is. It didn't really get any purchase before, as far as I could tell, except amongst the real absolute yahoos. I don't think it's going to this time. It's so easily debunked, but this one is so easily debunked. Imagine having the writing, editing, graphical arts presentation, printing, all the capabilities of the United States government, a secretarial department like the Office of National Intelligence, and not being able to find Kyiv a map. I mean, they've got Kyiv down by Kryvyi Rih on her map of Ukraine that shows where all the weird secret biolabs are. I mean, it's, to be honest, it's laughable just looking at it on the surface of it. But the truth is, the U.S. and all governments fund biolabs all over the place. I went to a university in Montana where we had a huge agricultural lab as one of the major features of the university I was at. They're always doing research on crop diseases and animal diseases and all this sort of stuff to prevent things from outbreaks and stuff like that. It's really smart activity, and it was the United States probably helping fund joint agricultural labs and that sort of thing in Ukraine. Probably, because it's a good idea, right? But uh, uh, I haven't looked into it that level, that much detail, because the thing is, if you look at the weapons side of the world, Ukraine doesn't have any level 4 security biolabs, right? Russia's got dozens of them. America's got dozens of them. Hell, we saw the general that Ukraine killed in Moscow, who was the head of the laboratory, the nuclear forces and the biological, radiological forces in chemical, biological, and radiological, a directorate of the Russian military. Him and his deputies and there were the defense minister, all these people walking around in a photograph of a tour of that lab, and then the guy wound up dead outside his office in Moscow. Uh, those are the guys that are in weapons, the biological and nuclear weapons area. Ukraine's never developed any biological or nuclear weapons, although it probably should have nuclear weapons again. And most importantly, the only demonstrated user thousands of times in this war right now of chemical weapons use, blister agents, choking agents, and now even nerve agents. Evidence of all three of these starting to be used by Russia in a systematic way. It's another war crime, frankly, that multiple people in Russia are going to have to go to prison for when this war is over, because letting Russia normalize chemical weapons use, accusing Ukraine of biological weapons development, bio- biologically engineered mosquitoes and whatever else, who knows? Um, Russia's just freaking out probably because all animals seem to demonstrably hate Russians. But look, Russia has biological weapons laboratory. Russia has biological weapons use. A demonstrated experience of whether you're talking about Navalny being poisoned or the poisonings in Britain, multiple of which have killed people with different types of radiology. All the people that the KGB and the FSB has killed with poison or radiological agents, including in Ukraine over the years. Them saying anything about Ukraine's uh, in that area is just absolutely absurd. So they get Tulsi Gabbard to do it for them, and as if she has some credibility, which she should by position. But there's no telling who that Trump idiot will appoint to a position. His current new guy for director of national intelligence is so bad they're actually going to create a whole different job role for him, so that because he knows that person will never ever get confirmed as DNI, and he'll probably go without one now. Like he's going out with he doesn't need a national security advisor. I'll just use Rubio for that, in addition to his position as in state. I mean, they don't know what they're doing. But anyway, of course, she's publishing his thing on the way out the door after leaving, being a very ineffectual DNI. They're not even going to replace her. And America is going to be incredibly exposed now for not having a DNI in place that's competent and apolitical, but only looks after the interests of the United States jealously. Is another downfall of the Trump administration that we can just watch happen as it does. But because there's nothing you can do about it. But at least Tulsi Gabbard will get her last gasp of putting out this report about biolabs, particularly that Ukraine is doing it. Because if that keeps them up at night, John, I want Russians worried about biologically engineered beavers.
Well, I concur, Will. It's just I don't know, it just keeps coming up, doesn't it? This absolute nonsense. And my brother was talking about biolabs last summer. It really disappointed me. Oh, but what about the biolabs? And it's like, what? No. But it does keep coming up, and I suppose she's got one last roll of the dice there. Oh, look at this American report, which the Russians can then use in their own media. Even the Americans are saying it. It's got to be true. And she's giving them the win that they need. She's giving them the momentum they need to perpetuate this nonsense one more time. And if she's not a Russian asset, then I'm not living in Japan.
Queen of England.
That'll do. We do that one as well. There you go. That's the standard set phrase, isn't it? I remember it now. It's all coming back to me, all this English idiom.
You'd probably have to be king of England, though, or you could be emperor of Japan.
Well, we could go with that one too. Mockers, are you the Queen of England?
Totally, yeah. No, I know him. He's got fabulous legs. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, the biolabs. If you actually read the report, it says in the report itself that this is mainly being used
Russian.
as a Russian talking point. Yeah, as a disinformation Russian talking point. So, when you read through the actual document, it's like, oh, by the way, most of this is Russian bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, because what she's done is put together this report based on actual intelligence officers who want to keep their jobs and they're professionals. Can you imagine being a professional in any sphere and somebody coming to you and telling you that they want you to put together some dossier of information on some completely absolute bullshit thing, you would probably make them up a very bureaucratic document that outlined clearly that as they've done, that some of it got copied and pasted into this thing, essentially. That this is entirely so as a major. First appearance of it was in as a Russian disinformation activity, but let's disregard all that, and let's go along and examine the bona fides of the biolabs in Ukraine, which just remind you, are plausible things that people have agricultural labs to deal with pests and infestations and things like hookworm or whatever that current worm that's going through cattle in America. The America is so incompetently led by RFK and other people in relation to all these things, whether it's agriculture, that that they're susceptible to this stuff. And Tulsi Gabbard has been long, as I say, John. I also would probably want to be called the Queen of England if she wasn't a Russian agent, because she's has a long history of whitewashing Russian and their actions in Syria, and have been a big conspiracy theory user, abuser, I should say. And this biolabs one, has always been in her kit bag as her primary one. She's using it as she goes out the door. But yeah, have a look at it, as Marcus said, yourself, and you'll see it falls apart pretty quickly as soon as, especially as I said, as soon as you get to the map that shows Kyiv showing up somewhere between Kryvyi Rih and Dnipropetrovsk. But you be the judge. It's America is just so disappointing. You shake your head at what's coming out of America, whether it's Departments of State notices or this kind of garbage from the DNI. But look, it'll all wash over the Ukrainians, because as they know, if Trump's essentially declared his hand that he's on the side of Putin, but he's not really going to do anything to help him, Ukraine will probably still win, because America will do things even unwittingly that will help Ukraine win, because they want to sell weapons and they want to do all that stuff. But you don't need to have to consider America as an ally anymore to consider this war still winnable by Ukraine. So they probably, but I find these things. That's why I wanted to talk to about it before before mockers, before our guests come on, because I would find it phenomenally depressing to watch the news out of America at all if I was Ukrainian. But I suppose a lot of them have stopped watching it a long time ago, which is probably smart. War Doggo?
Yeah, just to support what you just been mentioning, there is one quite talented person, Ukrainian, who uses the nick Frionis, and he does fantastic cartoons, absolutely reflecting the sense of certain quite frustrating events happening. And yes, I put his recent cartoon in the nest related to what you've been mentioning, and that's you have the Russian language there, because Russia speaks Russian language. You have the English subtitles there, and the visuals are more than enough to understand the context behind the frustration. So yes, I fully understand you, and uh, I fully support that feeling, considering that this is the mistake that many past administrations were already doing in the past, and they already came to the conclusion it makes no sense. And trying it once more time is like, trying to uh, trying to uh, trying I don't know, trying California Reaper pepper, uh, still remembering the previous consequences, and trying to invent or imagine that this time is gonna be fine. I mean, No, it's not gonna be, but you're gonna learn that. That's kind of the easy thing. Back to you.
Last but not least, before Mockers takes over, I mentioned this yesterday, but it's nice to see follow up by United 24 on Russia's Starlink rival, which they claim is not only going to be equal to Starlink, but better. Yeah, better. Well, I'll tell you what. The first launch of those satellites, they kept pretty secret. They've spent $5.7 billion already, going to put their own network of low Earth orbit satellites into orbit to make their own Starlink and run them out of the market. But like the first three satellites they put out, the number three has already failed to be able to relocate itself in position, has fallen out of orbit and burned up in the atmosphere. So it's a, part of a, I guess, divide 5.7 billion by three, and that's the loss so far. And they're gonna do so much better than Starlink, which currently has about 10,000 low Earth orbit satellites in orbit. So not starting out real well for Russia in their Starlink takeover thing, but maybe he'll focus on something else now that he's had his IPO out. I don't know. John, we're getting ready to swap hosts, I think, early, so that we can kick off right when Alexandra and Yvonne show up. Is there any other stories you want to cover before we swap over?
I think we covered most of the stuff that I'd become aware of by looking through various news sites. I think there's some talk about another Oreshnik strike, but also that the Oreshnik thing kind of had some problems on the pad or whatever. I don't know. But that's
I
something
think
to
I
watch
think
out
that was
for.
probably I think that was probably just preparatory work that was reported by America
Right.
intelligence to Ukraine, and they started the preparation for a warning that some launch might occur. But really, it's just think of
Well,
it, put it in context. The DNI, the release of the biolabs thing, the everything Zakharova says. The propagandists are running overtime right now in Russia because things are going pretty bad for Russia, and put that on the pile of all the things that they're doing right now to, outlandish, absurd stuff to get you to get you to focus on the fact that refineries are not burning in great numbers in Ukraine. In fact, the Mockers will probably cover it later. The propagandists are out there saying that the refinery strikes in Ukraine are just a PR show, that they're actually having no uh, substantive effect to the economy or the military, and that they're war crimes. They're just terrorist crimes to terrorize the population. So once again, poisoning the conversation with naming what Ukraine is doing, which is perfectly viable strategic targeting of defense factories and refineries and all the things that I always talk about. They're saying that that's terror when in fact just the terror is what Russia's doing. Russia's not doing any targeting. Have you heard that any of the fire point factories being found and knocked out, the little drone factories that I go see found and knocked out, capabilities of Ukraine to be able to deliver strategic and mid-range and short-range strikes on Russia? No, you haven't, because Russia's not really trying that hard to take that stuff out. They're trying to terrorize populations, knock out cities and buildings and power plants. Power plants is the only thing they've done that's even viably considered would be considered military targets if they passed the proportionality test. But Russia didn't pass that either. But this is how they try to poison the world of language with propaganda by calling what Ukraine is doing to Russia the war crime that Russia's actually committing in Ukraine. That's just the thing they do, Dom. John.
oh, come on, Will. Yeah, everybody knows that those long-range drones are produced in apartment blocks. That's where they do it all.
by Ukrainian housewives.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. So it's entirely justified not. I'll get out of the way anyway, and we can get started. Wardago's
Right,
got his
don't
hand up.
leave yet. I want to ask a question.
Oh, well, go on then. Go on then.
Did you both see the ground drone that launched a Miklik? And it was Will that I wanted to ask the main question of. So thanks for dragging him out of the seat, whoever did that. Cheeky.
I am innocent this time. I am truly, truly innocent.
He ran
I
away
said,
from you,
don't leave
Marcus.
yet, didn't I? Didn't I say don't leave yet? I said don't leave
I
yet.
blame Heather.
I'm sure you do. Did you see the drone that can deliver a Miklik? Did you see that?
I did, but I saved it for you because I know you love those little ground drones, and it's the one function we hadn't seen yet.
Well, right. The reason I'm so excited about this is because, and the reason I wanted to get this in before our interview is because I might not get to talk about it otherwise because there's so much other news. But yeah, this is something that you usually have to fire from a heavy armored vehicle or, lightly armored vehicle, maybe a big vehicle, basically, with people involved. And this thing, you could deploy 10 of these and just, a whole area be demined in like a minute before you then go flying in with, a force, shall we say. I thought it was brilliant. Anyway, Will, I just wanted to tell you how good it was and ask you if you'd seen it.
Yeah, and everybody should watch that. I put it up in the nest over to the left hand side. But I'm going to move. I'm going to move the two things we want to talk to Yvonne about over one more space again. So and I'll clean up the nest here, War Doggo, and we'll be ready to talk to Yvonne when he shows up, and it'll all be tidy, I think. No, I can't.
While you're cleaning the nest, did you cover previously that Alexander Usyk, the undisputed world champion, have shown up in the White House? That's kind of the level of the diplomacy I expect, that Ukraine is actually okay. You don't like Ukraine, we send you the Ukrainian boxer. Did you cover it previously already?
I did not cover it because I found it to be, well, I mean, there's so much other important news to cover. And the other thing is, I kind of hate Megan Mobs. And Jennifer Kelly's, they say good things, but I'm not huge fans of all the things they say long term, and especially about Ukraine. They're good. They are supporters of Ukraine, but not as important as supporters of Ukraine as others that I find, and Megan in particular kind of puts out some stuff that gives me the shits. But yes, Usyk going there, great. Trump, obviously, very interested in bathing in the glory of anyone and sucking it off himself. You want to make sure you've got all your championship rings and belts and shit when you leave the office with Trump, though, because he'll loot you.
Yeah, you've got to be careful not to take anything of any importance in there. However, also, you've got to remember that Trump is very impressed by a large athletic man. He can't hide it anymore. He's very enamoured with, good-looking men. And Usyk, I would say, has, got some of those qualities that I'm sure that he was very impressed with. So there we go.
Yeah,
Morning,
he was
firefighter.
positively slobbering over the last UFC fighter I saw him talk to.
Yeah, patting him on the leg and saying he's too good looking to be a fighter. I'm sorry, but were you implying that you would prefer him to be a lover, not a fighter? I'm just, yeah. Anyway, it's very difficult to hide these things when you've got dementia. So
Why I was recalling sports and the boxing while we were waiting Ivan and Alexandra to join, because earlier at the first our first discussions with Ivan, when he was explaining about when he was telling about his telling his story about his let's say previous years, how was and he is at war since 2013. And we got to know that Ivan was having a quite good progress in kickboxing, and even being a sparring partner for Klitschko when Klitschko was in the kickboxing and was in the Olympic Games for kickboxing at the early beginning of Klitschko's career. So yes, we're gonna. That's how the things are narrow tied in this world. And yes, let's give a couple of minutes for the guys to join to have an amazing discussion. Back to you, Mockers. Back to you, Firefella. Ideas.
Morning, Firefella. You're good.
Morning, Bockers. Yeah, each to their own. You know, you love what you love. You can't hide it. And some people are coming out of the closet. Let's put it that way. But is Taman on fire as well? I'm just asking.
There seems to be a port on fire. Yes. So it's bear with me. I will find it. Here we go. So well, there's a couple of things on fire, but here we go. The port complex directly opposite Crimea, on the other side of Kerch Bridge in Taman, Krasnodar Krai, Russia, was hit by UAVs last night. Yes, last night the port complex, one of the key financiers of war, by the way, was struck, and at least 2 fires were noted to have broken out in this location. Now, remember that this is a transshipment complex. And it does have liquefied hydrocarbon transshipment. So it has a tank farm of approximately 28 meters cubed, or whatever cubed, and includes tanks for storing propane and butane under pressure, which I believe is what you might call a sympathetic target. It also has separate pumping stations for each type of gas. The second fire was reported in the area of the freight vehicle parking lot and warehouse infrastructure. Now, remember how they had all them vehicles waiting to cross over from the port to... I'm just wondering if this was where they were. So the nature and the extent of the damage is currently being assessed. That's all I can tell you really right now. But yeah, there was definitely stuff happened over there. And Armyansk as well, another place where a major fire has been reported. So it says here, on the grounds of the Crimean Titan plant. So according to Crimean Wind Monitoring Group, this place is also on fire. And, well, what can I say other than unlucky for those people who were there. So
Markers, do you see Gunbro? Do you see Ivan requesting speaker?
There are no requesters.
No, in that case.
No, can't see a thing, Will.
I never see people requesting anyway. You should know this by now. We've had this conversation before.
Yeah, that's why I cut in. But they're waiting. They've asked to be accepted. So we'll have to get them into space. Prince, maybe you can say.
Found one. I've been trying. I just found one.
Yvonne Bear. I think that's...
Yeah, I just found Yvonne.
We found Ivan and pulling on the balcony.
So while they sort that out, I will just state that, yes, also last night, the enemy, well, I say the enemy, this is coming from a Russian source, the Ukrainians also hit the bridges again. So the Chonghar Bridge with traffic towards Jankoy checkpoint is currently closed, and Henichensk with the Arabat Spit, it says here, traffic is only available in reverse mode. So that's nice to know, isn't it? So go away traffic is allowed, but not going in traffic. So that's perhaps a message in itself. Yes. How are we doing? Have we managed to get them up yet?
No, I still see them in listeners.
Just sent a speaker invite.
Yeah, you have to do this without me, I'm afraid. It's one of those things. So Yeah, just apologies. Can't help you. While that's sorting out, though, one more thing I can add into this space is Russia has now confiscated 7.6 billion in assets from one of their oligarchs. So communism coming back for you folks. Russian authorities confiscated 7.59 billion linked to jailed billionaire, Vadim Moskovich. Oh, we know him. And transferred everything to state ownership in what appears to be one of the largest asset seizures in Russia's recent wave of nationalizations. So, how long will that last? About a week. About a week.
I was going
Now,
to say, won't last him very long, will it? I mean, just saying.
yeah. So, Moskovich faces charges of large-scale fraud and money laundering, which is basically the job of a Russian oligarch, isn't it? But he's obviously crossed Putin at some point. Either that or it's just, he was handy. He was just a handy.
Доброго дня всім. Іван і Олександра на зв'язку.
Good morning, everybody. We're happy to finally
Good day.
join you guys.
Good morning.
And how's the morning over in Ukraine this morning? Nice and sunny?
Oh, we might have lost him again,
Oh.
Meantime, доброго ранку, друзі. Маю надію, у вас все добре. Good morning, friends. Hope everyone is okay.
Yeah, just try and speak again there for us, please. Yeah, I think we've lost connection with them. I think we have a dodgy connection. I still see him as speaker, but obviously I couldn't hear a minute ago.
No, definitely gone. Prince, you can see if you can get him back.
Yeah, going to have to refresh that connection. Sorry, guys. So I will just carry on filling some space for a moment.
Yeah, there we go. They're coming back up.
Yeah, lovely. In that case, we'll give them a second. Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes the connection in Ukraine is a little bit wonky, and we just don't get the smooth connection that we'd like. And also, you've got to remember that this app is also a little bit wonky.
I was going to say, it's wonky in England, let alone Ukraine. It's wonky all over the world.
That is true. I had to reinstall this app again yesterday because it just started being crazy again. It's so unstable. It's just ridiculous how pathetic it is. This thing used to work really well. Can you imagine trying to have 24-hour spaces now? It would just be hell on earth. Welcome back. Let's see if it works this time. Go for it, War Doggo. Jump on in there.
Looks like this time should be okay. Привіт, друзі. Ви з нами? Чутно?
Hello, guys. We're back, but the issue we're having is we can talk. Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you. A bit in and out, but we can hear you. And now we can't.
Привіт, друзі.
It's like with... Привіт. It's like with my laptop. When you switch on the audio, the camera switches off. When you switch on the camera, the audio switches off.
I'm really sorry. The connection is terrible. We have a 5-minute delay or so. So whatever we just said, we could hear only a couple of minutes later. And only one account is working for us to talk, but we cannot hear through it. So we're using both.
Amazing, great to hear you. Доброго ранку, маю надію. Усі все добре. І в цілому все окей. Розкажи, tell us, how are you doing? How the things are?
Got all of that delay. So it's going to be like when we do the news, in the past, where they asked them a question and they used to stand there for a minute before they could answer. It'd be like that. But as soon as you, want to speak, just go ahead.
Yes.
for a minute before they can answer.
Ну, хорошо.
As soon as you, want to speak, go ahead.
Так,
A minute before they can answer. Yeah, it looks like we're still having some major technical issues. Gosh. Do you want to have a chat with them in the background, Mordago? Because
yep,
if they're-
that's what I'm gonna do.
yeah, if the account in listeners is the only one that they can hear from, there is quite a delay from us speaking to listeners actually hearing it, and so that is going to be a problem. So if they can get that account that they can hear with up to speaker, that would actually be better. So let's see if we can figure that out, because otherwise there will be this long delay, and it will be like when you used to watch them on the news, just looking blankly into the camera until they heard the question. It's going to be painful. So apologies, but nothing I can do. In the meantime, I suppose I could tell you a few things while we try and get that sorted out. So, sorry, but there's not a lot I can do. Let me just tell you about this, however. Russia decided to strike a market in Vasilivka in Dnipropetrovsk with 12 cab bombs this morning, destroying market stalls. Because, that's obviously the military target. Deliberate strike on civilians on a weekend morning, early in the morning. And you know for a fact that people have been injured. 9 people, in fact, have been reported injured. Because that isn't going to make absolutely any difference whatsoever to their war effort. But it is terrorism. And that seems to be all they're after doing now at this point. Absolutely just horrific. And the why of it is just because how dare you not want to be part of Russia. It's basically what it is. It's just punishment. So yeah, awesome that every single damn day, every day they do something like this, which is why I'm particularly pleased to see them all running out of fuel everywhere, because it's about time they all were thoroughly inconvenienced. At least they're not dead, dying, and picking up the pieces afterwards. And they're all having a right good old moan about how very inconvenienced they are. And babes, I hope it's a problem. I hope it's awful. I hope it really ruins your fucking day. Because, well, at least you're alive and you're not having to go rushing off to hospital to try and, repair the damage from a missile. I'll just say that. Just terrific. How are we doing? How are we doing in the background? Are we getting anywhere?
Alexandra
Guys,
tried to come up to speak, and I also sent her a speaker invite now too.
yeah, let's give it another try, because Twitter is super glitchy today, and guys are trying to do the trick you've been explaining earlier, but let's see how it works.
Давайте перевіримо. Ви зараз мене чуєте без затримки?
Can we try it out?
Let's try now.
Okay, we are trying already.
So, how's the audio? Can you hear us better now? I think I just answered my own question. Because if they can't hear us up on the panel here, it's going to have that delay again.
We can hear you guys, but we're not sure how much of a delay do you have.
Oh, we can hear you, but if you're only able to hear through the other account, that delay is about a minute. So,
all right. I believe we fixed it because I now can directly speak and listen to you from the main account. So I feel like we're good to go finally.
Seems Twitter finally works. That's amazing.
That's lovely. In that case, go for it, War Doggo. Kick us off, my friend. Let's start.
Yes, absolutely. Great that finally the technical issues have resolved, and glad to welcome today our dear friends Alexandra and Ivan. With the second try, now looks everything is good. And yes, tell us please how the things are going with the anti-drone shotgun trainings, how the things have evolved since the last time we've heard or seen each other, because there are a lot of there are now already friends among our community who have like directly personally participated in the training and have their own personal experience to share how that looks like, how that works, and how the things with the shotgun training literally helps to save lives on the front line anti-FPV when the shotgun is the last weapon of the last choice before to eliminate the FPV, to eliminate the threat. Back to you, dears.
Доброго дня, друзі. Останній звітній період, півтора місяця, був досить насичений. За цей час на тренуваннях було проведено тренування більше 200 стрільців і інструкторам різних. Також познайомився особисто з Вілом і Робін. Так, вони приїжджали, ми їх були дуже раді бачити, і чудово так співпало, що якраз в той момент, коли вони були, я проводив тренування інструкторам з підрозділу забезпечення 3-ї штурмової. Дуже гарно з ними поспілкувалися, подружились. Я так скажу, відносно активності, досить насичений період, і зараз вимушений із-за того, що досить щільний графік, навіть декому відмовляти і ставити в чергу відносно проведення тренувань. Багато проводжу часу, якщо не фізично треную, то, як то кажуть, треную удаленно по телефону, розказую людям, як це робити, що робити, на що звернути увагу. Фактично весь час іде на підготовку наших бійців до того, щоб вони виживали.
Okay, so since the last time we spoke, it's been a month and a half or so, and since then we were quite busy. And we had also had an opportunity to meet Robin and Will. They were personally here at our range conducting a training with us and joining us. And we also were really happy because when they joined us, my father he was training a group of instructors of забезпечення 3-ї штурмової. Since then, he had been really busy, and during this time, he had training sessions for more than 200 shooters and instructors from various units. And the training course he had when Will and Robin were here, it was for the support unit of the 3rd Assault Brigade. And they had some great conversations, got to know each other better. Also, they were answering our questions and were answering questions for Robin and Will. So it was really great opportunity. And in terms of activity, as I said, it's been extremely intensive period. And we had a really packed schedule. And even he even had to turn some people down or make a list for the groups that wanted to join the training because he had so many inquiries and already such a full schedule that it was difficult to pack even more groups in. And he spent a great deal of time preparing the fighters, and not only during in-person training session, also he wasn't just physically training people, often coaching remotely, so giving advice over the phone, explaining what to do, how to do it properly, and what details they should pay attention to. So either a phone call or all the messages or video chat, anything that was possible to do. And nearly all of his time was dedicated to helping prepare our fighters so they can perform more effectively and, most importantly, survive.
Ну і якби хочу знову ж таки зазначити, це все було б можливо, є можливим тільки завдяки вашій підтримці. Так, досить багато волонтерів зараз звертаються, групи волонтерів, які займаються евакуацією цивільного населення з прифронтових зон, де ворог знищує навіть бабушок, які йдуть з паличками. А волонтери, ризикуючи життям, намагаються їх евакуювати. То їм також треба захист від дронів, і вони приїжджають цілими групами і просять їх навчити.
Again, all of these opportunities, all of these trainings were only possible thanks to your support. And also he would like to emphasize that it's really been such a big support for us, knowing that you have our side and also supporting directly us, and through us you're supporting so many of Ukrainian fighters. And also more and more volunteers are reaching out to us, including volunteer groups that evacuate civilians from the frontline areas, so where the enemy are targeting civilians and even elderly people that have walking canes, for example. So these volunteers, they risk their own lives to help others reach safety, and they too need protection against drones. So as a result, entire volunteer teams come to us and seek training and asking to learn the skills they need to protect themselves and to carry out their missions more safely. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's very good to be able to talk to you properly now. And Will, I know that you really enjoyed your training with these guys, and you did yourself quite proud. You were quite proud of yourself, weren't you, that you did okay? But didn't the girls put you to shame?
Yes. Thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah, so I did have the privilege of going through the training after the actual, Ivan was putting all the actual soldiers through the training, and I was following along with Alexandra, who, we got done with the interview and stuff, and she said, "How would you like to go shoot some guns?" And I said, "You had me at hello." So yeah, it really was. It's really good real life training to. So I'd shot a shotgun before significantly, but 40 years ago, and it was nice to be able to get training from. Well, I mean, don't be too shy about it, Alexandra. I want to ask you, how did the European competition that you went to in May go, and where's your placing now in the world of practical shotgun use?
Luckily, my placing haven't changed. I'm still #1 ladies in the world rating. And the competition I had a few weeks after Will and Robin visited us was in Germany. It was a open German national. So in my category, in my shotgun category, there were around 130 people. And I placed first lady and fourth overall, beating a lot of really good men. Unfortunately, was a few percent shy of a third place overall, but still really good results. Thank you.
You're very welcome. When I went through the train, I want to set this up because the girls really did show the boys up, because I went through the same exercise that the soldiers were doing with Ivan ahead of me, that Alexander run me through. And, she was very encouraging about, oh, yeah, that was a very good time. And my time actually apparently compared very favorably to the actual soldiers who were doing the run between targets, have to shoot and reload on the way. Just I followed the instructions and ran through that thing. Felt like I thought that went pretty well. And then, of course, she said, it's not so bad, not so far away from what the soldiers are doing right now, basically up with them. And then she ran through the course for all of us. And I think my time was about 27 seconds. And I've actually posted the video of Alexandra doing the course in 8.49 seconds. So basically a third of the time of me or the actual soldiers who are doing it. She is liquid fast on moving and shooting, which is what this practical shotgun training course is based on. The whole competition is based on being able to move and shoot targets, which is why this course is so incredibly adaptable to shooting down first-person drones and that are coming after you, whether they're, if they're tethered on a fiber optic, you're not going to be able to jam it. So you got to be able to, as a last line of defense, kill a drone before it injures or kills you. And dodging around obstacles, firing on the run, firing a reload really fast is very important. And I thought the course was excellent from the standpoint of practical skills to be able to hit moving targets that are coming to kill you. I was very impressed with what they put together. And Ivan, how many folks have you got through the roster now? I think it was close to 1,000 when I was there 6 weeks ago. How many people are you up to now with the summer being very productive?
Да, Віл, хочу сказати, що ти дуже добре тримався, і хочу відмітити наступне, що от в порівнянні з військовими в тебе добре получилося завдяки тому, що ти зразу слухав і не намагався внутрішньо супротивлятися цьому. Бо от досить часто, коли приїжджають хлопці вже з бойовим досвідом, так, і вони хоч приїжджають, вони самі сюди їдуть вчитися або зовуть мене, щоб я їх вчив, але десь підсвідомо вони сопротивляються цим новим знанням. І от їм складніше. Потім, коли вони, так це ж оказується так, так як після того, як я їм пояснюю, це ж так досить легко і все інше. Але от спочатку це несприйняття їх трохи тормозить в розвитку. Я вже знаю, як їх розтормажувати, так, і боротися з цим. Відносно кількості людей, от я ж кажу, після вашого крайнього візиту сюди, коли ми з вами особисто познайомилися, за цей період порядком 200 людей було. Це вперемішку і волонтери, і просто групи військових, і інструктора, ті, які будуть і навчають уже свої військові підрозділи. Інструкторів навіть виїжджав на додатковий чек після того, як вони пройшли курс у мене. Тиждень чи два позаймалися самі, а потім я приїжджав, у них приймав екзамен інструкторський. Досить добре. І зараз постійно, фактично зараз у мене йде спілкування з як мінімум 6-7 груп інструкторів, які зі мною онлайн консультуються відносно підготовки бійців. Тобто фактично навіть така онлайн-школа получилась. А відносно мішенного обладнання, знову ж таки хочу відмітити Воля Радіо і підтримку вас, мої друзі, відносно цих машинок, тарілочок, що я використовую, мішенної обстановки і навіть декорації, які були зруйновані, перші декорації, які стояли, також завдяки вашій підтримці, вони їх зруйнували. Ураган і нові декорації зараз ще при вільному часі розбудовую і додаю.
Okay, so first of all, Ivan was really happy that you will enjoyed the training. Also, he said that one of the reasons why you had such a good time and such quite a great experience was also because you had an experience in the past, but also because you listened from the start and didn't try to internally resist the information, because quite often when guys with combat experience come to train or invite my dad to train them, there's a subconscious resistance to a new knowledge and it makes learning more difficult for them. So later, after he explains things, they often say, damn, this is pretty simple, but that initial reluctance to accept new approaches slows down their development. And fortunately, he now already knows how to help them to get past that and overcome it. And as for the number of the people trained, as he mentioned since your visit here, guys, roughly 200 people have gone through training. That includes volunteers, military personnel, and instructors who are now training members of their own units. So, in fact, he even conducted follow-up evaluation for some instructors. After completing his course, they spent a week or two practicing on their own, and then he visited them again to conduct an instructor certification assessment. So the results have been very positive, and at the moment he is in a regular contact with around at least 6 or 7 groups of instructors who consult with him online regarding the training of their own personnel. In a way, it also has evolved into kind of an online training school. And also regarding the target equipment, we would once again like to acknowledge Volya Radio and all of you, our friends, for your help and support. The launching machines we have, clay targets, training setup, and range props and structures that we use now. All of this were only possible thanks to your contribution. And the original range structures that were destroyed by the storm, they were also thanks to your support. Unfortunately, it was destroyed, but we have been able to rebuild them again thanks to your support. And whenever we have free time now, we continue to expand the training environment, adding new structures to make training even more realistic and effective.
Super, excellent. Yeah, I mean, look, when you go to training like that and somebody who's the world champion in something is going to show you how to do something, or somebody with your father's also competitive background, when they say they're going to show you how to do something, you just listen and follow instructions. Don't pretend, and the benefit for me was having not held a shotgun for 40 years, 40 Sorak. Uh, I just could easily pretend I didn't had never done it before, and take the instruction as it was, which is superb. And I thank you very much for doing that for me, because I can get a free beer down at the pub when I say the world champion here taught me how to do this.
Well,
So
there is
it's
the
nice.
joke. There is the joke in Ukraine's instructor community, which, as you now understand from what Ivan and Alexander being explaining, is part of the joke and part serious. And the joke is the following: when the high-ranked police officer comes for a firearm training to a shooting instructor, and shooting instructor is trying to guess which level of with the weapons, let's say, operational knowledge the person is got, from where to start. He asks, like, what's your level with the weapon? And of course the police officer, who's high-ranked police officer, he's trying to impress the instructor by saying, hey, I'm in police since the last 30 years. An instructor thinking, okay, so that means we start from basics. That's kind of the joke, but as you now understand, with certain bias from the person who has the firearm experience, it also requires a bit to overcome the resistance. You're telling me something that I already know, but I know how it works, and so far and so on. But in fact, if you apply a certain level of flexibility and curiosity to know certain things in a different way, then actually it enables the training which much faster and much more effective, in a way that it saves time and it saves efforts to get the new skill and learning. So yes, as always, there is a part of joke in that joke. Back to you. Apologize if I interrupt.
Well, exactly, because especially like police officers, um, I learned how to do all that when I was in the military police, and then never ever drew my service revolver or my automatic. I had a 45 and then a Beretta. I mean, you learned how to use it, and then you intend never to use it. But this training is actually getting used. Bear or Sasha, can you tell me, have you gotten feedback from the trainers that have been propagated out, or other people who've gotten this training, giving you feedback on its utility to them? And are you making any iterative changes to the training as a result of any of the feedback?
Так, до великого мого задоволення фідбек є постійно. І чому моє задоволення? Тому що якщо до мене з фідбеком повертаються люди, які проходили моє тренування, так, по-перше, вони живі. По-друге, вони з такою захватом, з таким розказують і дякують тому, що вони отримали ці знання. Там такі телефонні дзвонки бувають. Іван, привіт, ми сьогодні в Києві проїздом, хотіли б з тобою зустрітися, там з нас Магарич, твої знання там нам врятували там 4 рази там життя, там 3 рази машину врятували, там це таке. Потім, коли волонтери з Херсонського напрямку також телефонували, кажуть: Іване, от все, що ти розповідав, все так воно і відбувається. Ми вже цих ждунів настріляли таку кількість, що просто це, якби не ці знання, навірно, там би якусь кількість там бабушок, дідушок не вивезли з-під обстрілу. Тому фідбек є постійний, і фідбек є різний, є консультативний фідбек. Там інколи хлопці розказують, що а тут змінилася тактика у ворога, що нам робити. Тобто я в них розпитую, в якому сенсі змінилася тактика. Вони розказують, що там, наприклад, дрони почали там, якщо там на рубежі зіткнення стоїть там російський Рубікон, то пілоти російського Рубікона досить, треба з повагою також відноситися до ворога. Так, вони вчаться, і вони вчаться протидіяти нашій протидії. Тобто Рубікон починає рухатися, пілоти Рубікона на низьких висотах, швидко набирають висоту, знову знижуються. Тобто, якщо пілот не професійний, він летить по одній траєкторії, а професійні пілоти починають рухатися ривками. І от хлопці дзвонять, питають, що нам робити, як на це реагувати, які методи. Тобто я це їм розказую, і, звісно, потім, використовуючи цю інформацію, вже в подальші курси я додаю саме оці моменти.
Okay, so of course, one of the things my dad really loves is to actually get feedback, and that's to his great satisfaction. That feedback is constant. And why does it bring him so much joy is because when people have gone through his training, they come back with feedback. It means two things. First, they are alive. And second, they speak with genuine enthusiasm and gratitude because of the knowledge they received. And sometimes the phone calls, all the time, the phone calls, they are unforgettable. They would go something like, Ivan, hi, we're passing through Kyiv today and wanting to meet up. We owe you a drink. The knowledge you gave us saved our lives 4 times and saved our vehicles 3 times. So also then he has that volunteers that we talked about from Kherson direction who call and say, Ivan, everything you told us is exactly how it happens in reality. We encountered so many spotters and collaborators that without the knowledge that we got from you, we would probably wouldn't be able to evacuate the people and grandmas and grandpas from under the fire. And so that feedback is constant. And when it comes in many forms. Some of it can be consultative, and sometimes the guys call and tell him that the enemy has changed the tactics and ask what they should do. So he started by asking questions exactly how those tactics have changed. For example, they might explain that drone operators have adapted a new flight patterns. So if a Russian drone unit is operating in a particular sector, their pilots are learning and adapting. And as he said, we have to respect the fact that the enemy learns as well. So they study our countermeasures and develop ways to overcome them. So for instance, instead of flying along a predictable path, experienced drone pilots, they rapidly gain altitude, then descend again and maneuver unpredictably. An inexperienced pilot usually tends to fly a consistent trajectory with professional operators, begin moving in bursts and changing patterns to make interception more difficult. So the guys call and ask, what should we do? How should we react? What method should we use? And he discusses these situations with them, shares his analysis and recommendations, and then also incorporates those lessons into already existent and into the future training courses. So that way, the training continues to evolve based on real world experience and latest developments on the battlefield and the threats.
Well, that's really good. I mean, that feedback is working so well, and that he's able to give them advice and plan for tactics as they tell them about. So I've got one more question, but first I want to make sure everybody knows that um, the uh, the www.givebutter.com/shotgun is the place to participate in the fundraiser to help Ivan and Alexandra build out this course, get more training materials so that they can get more people through this training that saves so many lives and saves so much equipment from being destroyed by fiber optic FPVs in particular. That you can donate there, and uh, as we're speaking, you can see your donation come up if you have the opportunity and can provide any amount of support for this fundraiser to keep this course going, expanding, and helping people save lives in Ukraine. It's so important, and I think it's been probably one of the most cost-effective pieces of fundraiser that we've seen here, because train the trainer in particular is the way to get really value out of this, and the number that have been run through already for the cost is good and expanding all the time. So if you can help out, look, you use up, there's consumables you use up. You obviously use a lot of shotgun shells. I know I did. So there's always stuff they need. Repair targets, produce new of these pop-up targets. It's a really interesting course because you shoot moving targets as well as stationary targets, and all of it needs a little care and maintenance. And they've got it to the point where they can take it on the road too, and some of the help getting it out and dispersed, and possibly I think even opening up a second range right adjacent to the first one, so they can do two courses in parallel. There's still a lot of support that they could use here to very good effect in getting this essential skill out there. So if you can help the fundraiser out, givebutter.com, GIVE butter.com/shotgun. And you can make a donation that you'll pop up right away, and you can add yourself to the supporters of this really good cause. Last question I've got, and then we'll get to some of the other people so I don't monopolize all the time. Did you and I, Alexandra, talked a bit about the differences between automatic shotguns and pump action shotguns, and you demonstrated to me through me doing it what the turnaround times between getting being ready to shoot again, because key is on the day when the targets aren't moving, or you're very casual and sighted in. It's easy shooting things with a shotgun because it's a shotgun, but if it's moving and chasing you, and remembering what to do at the certain time. I saw so many people, and I did it myself, failed to reload, especially with the pump action, appropriately at the time. And so I've got to ask you, because I saw this came up this morning, and I sent it to you guys kind of as a joke, but in fact, I'd really like to know. The feedback to the Russian manufacturers was a Kalashnikov group has developed the announcement of a single shot shotgun that's disposable. It only weighs 1.8 kilograms, but it's a single shot chambered with a 12 by 70 millimeter cartridge that you're supposed to be able to shoot down low flying UAVs with. Alexandra, in comparison to other things that we've used on these, what were they thinking with regard to a single shot shotgun and its utility in the role that you guys apply it to?
We have a lot to say on this subject, but I will give the word to Ivan, as he has a better understanding of what they were trying to do and what they should have done.
Я зараз скомбіную відповідь на ваше питання, і воно досить гарно в'яжеться з тим, що, на жаль, є і сумний фідбек. Так, і в основному цей сумний фідбек, коли там хлопці розказують, що там стрільця, там бійця з таким позивним немає, він загинув, тому що в нього заклинила зброя, яку їм видала держава. Так, і от в основному більшість сумного фідбеку пов'язано з тим, що ці рушниці булпап з магазинами вони клинять. Тому питання вибору зброї досить актуальне. І класичний, як я вже і казав раніше, класичний напівавтомат з підствольним магазином – це найкращий вибір. Тому що ти його можеш постійно дозаряджати, і він надійніше. І от помпова рушниця, це ти можеш зробити декілька пострілів, але швидкість цих пострілів не така буде, як з напівавтомата. І я завжди учу своїх курсантів всіх, що по дрону, незалежно від того, чи ти попав в нього з першого пострілу, треба робити мінімум 3 постріли, тому що це дуже важливо. У дрона є інерційний рух, і якщо стрільця вчити, що ти будеш там суперметким стрілком і збивати з одного пострілу, це може призвести до сумного фідбеку. Бо статистика того, що ти там з першого пострілу зіб'єш, досить маленька. А от мінімум 3 постріли, ти починаєш постійно це напрацьовувати, і вже на автоматі будеш стріляти 3 постріли. Тому, дивлячись, я бачив цю публікацію, що Калашніков зробив одноствольні палки-стрілялки. Що я хочу сказати? Це хай вони таке роблять, нам це на руку, так? Я можу сказати, що це вони просто відмивають якісь там свої кошти, але дивитись на це як на прогрес, це більш за все регрес, це якісь фузеї там 18 століття, плюс-мінус одне й те саме. Тому дуже важливо підбирати правильну зброю. І далі в наступному месенджі я трошки розкажу іще про одне із того, чим останнім часом займався.
This will be a little combination of the answer for the previous question about regarding the feedback, and this question about essentially what it means to have a correct firearm for what you're doing. And unfortunately, not all feedback is positive. The most difficult feedback comes when the guys tell him that a particular fighter is no longer with us. In many of those cases, the story is the same. The firearm issued to them malfunctioned at a critical moment. So a significant portion of this negative feedback is related to bullpup shotguns with detachable magazines. They tend to jam, which makes the choice of firearm a very important issue. And as he said before, a traditional semi-automatic shotgun with a tubular magazine remains the best option, as it allows continuous topping up of ammunition, so reloading, and offers greater reliability. A pump-action shotgun can certainly be effective and allows multiple shots, but it simply cannot match the speed and follow-up shots that a semi-automatic provides and that you need for anti-drone shooting. One thing he teaches all of his students is that when engaged in a drone, you should fire at least 3 shots, regardless of whether you think you hit it with the first one. That is extremely important, as drones carry momentum. Even if the first shot damages it, the drone may continue moving, and training people to believe they will be reliably destroying a drone with a single shot can create a really dangerous expectations, which ultimately leads to tragic outcomes. The statistical likelihood of consistently shooting down a drone with 1 shot is relatively low. And by training shooters to automatically fire a minimum of 3 shots, you build a habit that increases the possibility of successfully neutralizing this threat. He also saw the recent publications about Kalashnikov producing single-shot anti-drone weapons. And in his view, it's simple. If they want to keep making things like that, it works in our favor. So it has really big favor in our side. And personally, he thinks that projects like that are more about spending budgets than achieving meaningful results. Calling it progress would be dangerous. In many ways, it feels more like a step backwards. And those single-shot devices resemble something closer to 18th century firearms than a modern solution to a modern battlefield problem. So that's his idea on the Kalashnikov one-shot thing. And as his couple last sentences were, he said that that's one of the main reasons why it's important selecting the right firearm system. And also he would like to share something that is connected to this message later on about a new project that he's been really involved and working on recently.
Excellent, thank you. But you yourself, Alexandra, what did you look at this thing? What do you think of the ergonomics of having to pick up this thing? I realize it only weighs 1.8 kilograms, but as you say, one shot's highly unlikely, and unless you're well practiced at using any shotgun, you're not going to hit what you're after. And the ergonomics of this thing just look horrible. So I agree. It looks like something that was made to spend a budget.
Yep, absolutely. That was my first idea as well, looking at it. First of all, it's ugly and the sights are terrible and there's no real use for it. And again, just one shot. It doesn't matter how good of a shooter you are, even if we think about shooting flying clay targets, so skeet and trap, only such a small percentage of the top athlete that's been training and practicing for 5-10 years can shoot all 25 in a series. So the idea of someone new to shooting, especially shooting a flying target with one shot, that's really quite impossible. So I think it's good for us. Again, I will back up Ivan on this. It's good for us that Russian side is doing that. Let them continue to do that. Let them spend the budget on that. But it's ugly, terrible, unreliable. Sites are awful and just ugly.
Yeah. So put that item on the list, folks, with the of the three we've talked about today that are absolutely terrible things that Russia's doing to itself that we just have to say, please continue. If anybody in listeners or wants to have a talk to Ivan and Alexandra about this course or anything related to shotguns, hey, Ivan, you guys come up and ask a question if you'd like to. Firefella will, but I'll quickly ask Ivan. Ivan, what are you thinking these days in relation to electronic warfare versus proliferation of shotguns to take down things that are the last line of defense? Is one better or the other, or you'd want to have both no matter what?
Я хочу сказати, що треба поєднувати. Якщо є можливість задавити ребами, так, то це, звісно, краще, і реби можуть працювати на більшій відстані. Але все одно, на жаль, немає нічого на сьогоднішній день кращого, чим кінетичне знищення цього ворожого дрона. І от зараз іде гонка озброєння, так, що з нашого боку, що з того боку. Я бачив досить багато таких кумедних рішень, які намагаються і в нас зробити, там якось автоматизувати це все. І бачив рішення і з ворожого боку. Тобто це говорить про те, що наші винахідники, що їхні винахідники намагаються це якось автоматизувати. Але це все зараз на етапі цих концептів, і, на жаль, на полі бою на сьогоднішній день нічого нема кращого, чим напівавтоматична рушниця 12-го калібру.
The main idea would be it's better to have a combination. So the key is to combine different methods. If electronic warfare system, they can suppress the drone, then of course that's more preferable. And electronic warfare can often be effective at bigger distances and may stop the threat before it even gets close. However, unfortunately, there is still no solution today that is more reliable than kinetic physical destroying of an enemy drone. Right now, there's a constant arm race on both sides, and he had seen quite a few interesting and sometimes even amusing attempts from both our side and from the enemy side to automate the process of countering drones. And the fact that both our engineers and theirs are working on automated solutions shows that just how important this challenge has become. Everyone is trying to find a technological answer. The problem is that most of these ideas, they are still at the concept of, and they're still at the experimental stage, and they may show promise, but they have not yet proven themselves as dependable on the battlefield, as dependable battlefield solutions. And as things stand today in real combat conditions, there's still nothing that's more effective than a 12-gauge semi-automatic shotgun when it comes to direct kinetic destructions of the drones.
І продовжу. Зараз йде боротьба за те, щоб на поле бою знову повернути техніку, таку як танки та бронетранспортери, бо зараз із-за дронів фактично не наша сторона, ні ворожа їх не використовує. І зараз наші конструкторські бюро думають, як захистити техніку від дронів. Понятно, що саме примітивне це ці мангали, там якісь обварки решіткою, але думають на майбутнє, намагаються розробити якусь кінетичну систему знищення. Тобто є вже варіанти, там з деякими варіантами і я консультував, так, саме кінетичного знищення дронів, які приближаються. Але поки що стоїть велика проблема, щоб автоматична система фільтрувала свій-чужий.
And also a little addition to that, now there's an ongoing effort to bring back armored vehicles such as tanks and armored personnel carriers back to the battlefield. And the widespread use of drones has significantly limited the ability of both sides to employ armored vehicles effectively. So as a result, neither side uses them as the way they once did. So engineers and defense designers are now focused on finding ways to protect vehicles from drone attacks. The simple solutions are already familiar: improvised cage armor, metal grills, and the so-called cope cages mounted on the vehicles. But the real focus is on developing more advanced systems for the future. So many design teams are working on concepts for active kinetic defense system capable of physically destroying approaching drones before they reach their target. And Ivan have personally been consulted on some of these concepts and potential solutions. However, one major challenge remains unresolved. Any automated defense system must be able to reliably distinguish between friendly and hostile drones. So the identification of friend versus foe is currently one of the biggest obstacles to deploying fully automated counter-drone system in real combat conditions. So until that problem is solved, creating an effective and trustworthy automated kinetic defense system remains a significant technical challenge.
Thanks. Go ahead, Firefella.
So it's really good to hear from you two today on what you're doing and how the training's going. But when you're getting that feedback, are you able to keep account of Russian drones that people have shot down after the training? Or is that something you can't do? Because that's actually saving Ukrainian lives, isn't it? And vehicles, I would say, at the same time. And that's the first bit. And the second bit is, have you got enough of the right shotguns in country? Thank you.
По-перше, хочу відповісти на перше питання. Коли я отримую фідбек в основному емоційний, про кількість, інколи кажуть про кількість дронів, яку збили, інколи не кажуть. Так просто кажуть, що виходили, винесли, доставили, збивали дрони, всю дорогу на нас налітали. Про кількість, на жаль, не можу сказати, яку кількість дронів збили мої учні. Так, а тепер відносно якби правильних рушниць. Так, як я вже і раніше казав в попередніх ефірах, так чомусь Міністерство оборони вирішило закупати ці булпапи. Так, я утримуюсь від своєї думки, не буду її озвучувати, чому це відбулося. Але це рушниці, з якими неможливо воювати. Вони підходять, і за них ми маємо сумний фідбек. Так, паралельно з цим, можу сказати наступне, що от коли у мене тренувалися спецпризначенці Альфи, так, вони приїжджали з різними рушницями. Я їм показував і розповідав, які рушниці мають бути, що є, форм-фактор Бенелі М4, це складний приклад, пістолетне руків'я, короткий ствол з дульними звуженнями. Можна розглядати варіанти і для того, щоб купити турецький клон. Розповідав, які саме турецькі клони, вони досить дешево у нас коштують. Але вони молодці, вони вибили кошти, я не знаю, чи можливо в них якісь є закордонні спонсори. Вони на весь спецпідрозділ СБУ Альфи закупили оригінальні Бенелі М4 II Drone Guardian. Це дуже добре. Понятно, що не всі підрозділи такі багаті. Так, і в більшості випадків хлопці отримують булпапи. Вони не можуть їх не отримувати, тому що якщо ти не отримаєш булпап, тобі складська служба не буде видавати набої для знищення дронів. Тобто, хоч якісь набої. Тому вони їх отримують і потім за свої кошти з бойових купують рушниці і досить часто звертаються до мене. А оцей клон Бенелі М4, його можна купляти, йому можна довіряти, а оцей виробник, а оцей. І в мене вже є статистика відносно виробників, турецьких виробників зброї, які можуть бути альтернативою Бенелі М4. Так. І от цікава історія була десь через тиждень після того, як приїжджали Робін і Віл. У мене тренувалися периметр охорони одного із, так сказати, людини високого статусу в штабі. І вони приїхали тренуватися з булпапами. І дуже показово було то, що там постріл, клин, 2 постріли, клин зброї. Я кажу так, знімайте це на відео. Вони знімають це на відео і кажу так, не виключайте відео, потім повертаюся і кажу, шановний, такий-то, такий-то. Якщо ви хочете, щоб ваші бійці залишилися живими, по-перше, по-друге, забезпечили вам охорону в разі нальоту ворожих дронів, купіть їм нормальні рушниці. Хлопці такі кажуть, а можна ми йому це покажемо? Я кажу, я за свої слова відповідаю і я можу це йому і в лице сказати. Казалось би, що воно нікуди далі не піде, але дякуючи цьому, вони почали шевелитися, рухатися, і от нещодавно, на минулому тижні, а на цьому тижні вже фізично на стрільбищі відстрелював, вони задалися ціллю придбати на підрозділ адекватні клони Бенелі М4 і завезли декілька екземплярів з Турції, тобто клон одного виробника, клон другого виробника, клон третього виробника. Я робив їм інспекцію, повністю розбирав цю зброю, дивився і із 3 виробників вибрав 2, і потім ми їх тестували на стрільбищі. І по великому рахунку вибрали одного із виробників турецької зброї, клон Бенелі М4, які досить достойна якість, і можна сказати, що фактично замінник Бенелі, але дешевий. І вони зараз будуть на підрозділ закупати саме ці рушниці.
This will be some really good information that you would like to sit through and listen to. He replied to both of the questions, one more in depth, the other is a bit more to give a general understanding. So first, he wanted to respond to the initial question about the feedback. That most of the feedback he received is more emotional. Sometimes people talk about the number of the drones that have shut down. Sometimes they don't go into numbers at all. They simply say that they were out, they moved out there, they moved through missions, they delivered supplies, they engaged drones, and they were constantly the drones that were constantly attacking them along the way. They shot those down. Unfortunately, he cannot say the exact number of drones that his students have managed to shoot down, but it's just the general idea that most of the feedback comes back as all of the drones that were attacking us, we were able to shoot them down. And we need to understand that the amount of drones on the front lines is so high right now that it could be hundreds. So at one mission or something. So unfortunately, no specific number, but just an idea that they're able to shoot them down. And regarding the issue of the proper shotguns, as he had said previously, for some reason, the Ministry of Defense, they decided to purchase bullpup shotguns. He will refrain from sharing his personal opinion on why that decision was made, but in practice, these are the firearms that are unreliable in combat conditions. So they fail, and as a result, we receive negative feedback connecting to those firearms. At the same time, he can say that when he trained members of the Alpha Special Forces unit, so SBU, they came with different shotguns. Basically all of the personnel, they came, each one was a different type of shotguns. And he showed and explained what kind of firearms are actually suitable for this type of anti-drone work. And the preferred configuration is something in the Benelli M4 factors. So pistol grip, short barrel, and appropriate choke system. And he discussed the alternatives, including more affordable Turkish clones of the Benelli platform, and he explained which manufacturers are considered more reliable options. So those are significantly cheaper and more widely available on our market. Later, the Alpha unit managed to secure funding, and as far as he knows, maybe they had some possible external support from abroad or some type of sponsor. So they were able to purchase original Benelli M4 shotguns, AI drone guardian system for the whole unit. And that was a really positive development. Of course, not all units have that level of funding, and not all units are as rich, but in most cases, fighters end up being issued bullpup shotguns instead. And the reality is they really cannot refuse them, because if the unit is officially issued a certain firearm system, a certain weapon system, the logistics service will only provide ammunition for that system. So they will receive what they are given. And then many of them later purchase proper shotguns with their own combat payments. So quite often they reach out to Ivan and ask him whether a specific Benelli M4 clone is reliable or whether a certain manufacturer can be trusted. And at this point, he already have accumulated statistics and practical experience with different Turkish shotgun manufacturers that can serve as quite an alternative to the Benelli M4. There was also a really interesting case shortly after Will and Robin visited us. He was training a perimeter security unit assigned to protect a really, really high-ranking individual within a headquarters structure. And they arrived for training with the bullpup shotguns. And during live fire practice on the range, it became immediately obvious that the problem was with the shotgun. So one shot malfunctioned, two shots malfunctioned again. He told them to record everything on video and not to stop recording. And then every time there was a malfunction, it was recorded. So then he turned to the commander and said, well, not to the commander, to the person who was holding the phone and filming the practice. So he said, if you want your personnel to stay alive and you want them to be able to protect you during a drone attack, you need to equip them with proper shotguns. The soldiers asked if they could show this footage to their commander, and Ivan said that he stands behind every single word he said, and he's ready to say it directly to his face as well. And although it seemed like it might that conversation might not go any further, but it actually triggered action. And thanks to that situation, changes started happening. Recently, just this week, he was back at the shooting range conducting evaluations. That same unit, they had set a goal to acquire proper Benelli M4 type shotguns, so copies of Benelli M4, and they brought in several Turkish-made examples. And he tested all 3 different manufacturers, fully disassembled the firearms, inspected them in detail, and evaluated their reliability. And in the end, he selected 2 manufacturers for the testing on the range, and ultimately identified one Turkish Benelli M4 clone that demonstrated solid quality and performance, and it can be considered a practical, cost-effective alternative to the original. And now the unit is planning to procure the shotguns for operational use.
Well, that's a good story because just like you said about feedback from the front lines to you guys, that sort of feedback to the people in procurement so that they can change to a better shotgun as they have a capability to do so, that they do that. But like you said, you go to war with the tools you've got, not the ones you want. And if the bullpup was the only shotgun available, I'd definitely take it. But I would, you guys also give tips and tricks to people who have to use things like the bullpup. You showed me, the things about storing them. Don't store the magazines loaded, and how to make sure that the things are unlikely to jam or be less likely to jam as you use each magazine. So, I mean, you guys deal with both things, but it's nice to hear when people take your feedback on board as well, I bet.
Talking of hearing, that soundtrack tells us that just because you're chatting to us doesn't mean that everything stops. Training is still going on, most definitely, in the background there, and that's the thing, folks. That's why Ivan and Sasha come to talk to us today, because training is ongoing, and they need to continue to train Ukrainian soldiers in order to continue to help them save lives. And that's the feedback that they get the most of, that lives are being saved, vehicles are being saved because of the knowledge. So, really, really important that we continue to support them. And so I would just direct your attention to the fundraiser in the Nest. It's the most recent addition to the Nest. You can see there. They brought us some really fascinating insights today. They absolutely have. And anti-drone shotgun training, it is not just something that can be used once. They are literally teaching people to teach their units. And this just, exponentially moves out in a fan so that everybody is equipped with the knowledge and information and skill to be able to save their own lives, because, you can't rely on somebody else to do it for you when you're the person there on the spot. So if anybody has any spare shekels, check down the back of your sofa, check under the cat. I get paid on Monday, so I know for a fact that I will be making a donation on Monday when I get paid. But the whole point is that they come to talk to us and they give us their really valuable time so that we can highlight their fundraising efforts. So, folks, if you can, please feel free to make a donation. And if you're unable, please feel free to share this fundraiser. I mean, I know there are so many worthy fundraisers going on, but this in particular, I feel is, it comes with results, and those results are really tangible. They're something that's really obvious to the soldiers themselves. So please don't hold back. Don't be shy. Reach in your pockets. Thank you for coming to my TED talk.
Absolutely,
Bye,
Marcus.
fella.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree with you more, Marcus. Such a worthy cause. The work that Ivan and Sasha are doing is I can't express it. It's just fundamentally brilliant. Just one last question for me, Ivan, if you've got time, sir. So you're talking to Ukrainian command. Are those relationships getting better? Are you being listened to more? Do you feel more valued by them?
Так, зараз тут прозвучало декілька питань. Да. Як ви і відмітили, зараз проходить тренування, і я коли говорю українською, так, я з вами, і потім я відходжу до людей, які приїхали на тренування, коли Саша перекладає, і потім повертаюся, слухаю, що ви говорите. Із цікавого. Сьогодні у мене абсолютно цивільне тренування, тобто приїхали цивільні стрільці, але я завжди говорю, що не дай Бог, але досить можливо, що настане той час, коли, виходячи з дому, будеш брати парасольку від дощу, точно так же будеш брати рушницю від дронів. Це люди, які живуть, умовно кажучи, ще не в прифронтових зонах, але на жаль, фронт підходить. Вони бачили, в мене в Фейсбуці, або там знайомі там з хлопцями, які були у мене на військових вишколах. Це їхні друзі, знайомі, які розуміють, що користування рушницею може їм знадобитися навіть при їхньому цивільному житті, коли вони, це Чернігівщина, Сумщина, да, просто пересуваються, там їдуть до батьків з міста в село і так далі і тому подібне. Тому я, от коли Саша перекладає, виходжу і даю їм завдання, зараз сижу в машині, дивлюся, як вони це виконують. Так? Відносно спілкування з військовими, з керівниками та командувачами. Так, є адекватні, які сприймають критику, розуміють, для чого це. Це ті хлопці і люди, які переживають за свої підрозділи. Досить щільно йде спілкування саме з керівниками такого підрозділу, як Ахілес і К2, а також сили спеціальних операцій, навчальні центри. Вони використовують, я їм прописував курси, учив їхніх інструкторів, так, вони використовують мої знання і постійно з ними вони намагаються це впровадити. Ахілес, наприклад, керівник Ахілеса каже, я на круглому столі генералів навіть сказав, що треба змінювати піхотну зброю, треба уходити від карабінів, треба людям, піхотинцям давати рушниці, тільки штурмовики мають бути 50/50, тобто рушниця, карабін, а всі підрозділи забезпечення, всі дронщики, треба карабіни неефективні. Так, б'ємося з різного боку, намагаємося впровадити це все для того, щоб зберегти більше життя хлопцям. Паралельно з цим звертаються, так сказати, друзі з країн НАТО, таких як Франція, країни Балтії. Вони розуміють, що не дай Бог, але це може стати і загрозою для їхніх військових. Якби там були питання відносно змоги їх потренувати, я кажу, да без питань. Я можу звернутися до військового керівництва того підрозділу, в якому я зараз числюся, як після поранення поза штатом, для того, щоб вони організували виїзд мене і ще допоміжних інструкторів для вашої підготовки. Саме зараз іде спілкування вже не на моєму рівні, а на рівні командувачів мого підрозділу з командувачами того підрозділу з Франції, які хочуть це зробити. Тобто іде спілкування якесь, хоча досить дивно, да? командувачі бачать в цьому перспективу, якщо я поїду з групою інструкторів вчити французів, так в цьому вони бачать перспективу. А в тому, щоб мої знання якось акумулювати тут і ефективно використовувати за підтримки, ну грубо кажучи, офіційної підтримки сил оборони, да, чомусь не бачать в цьому сенсу. Вірніше, не так. Якщо я знову повноцінно повернуся до інструкторських лав в Сили оборони України за рахунок бюрократії і маючи там своє офіцерське звання, я не буду працювати в полі, я не буду вчити людей, а із-за бюрократії мене посадять за комп'ютери, за бумажки. Тобто я цього не хочу, тому що я не бачу в цьому перспективи розвитку і можливості якомога більше зберегти людських життів.
So there were one main question, but there were a few phrases that Ivan would like to touch on as well. And one of the reasons his answers are so in depth and so, longer than usual is, as Marcus, you said, today we have something interesting because we are on the range and he has an active practice going on, and he has to step away to go to people he's training. So you have a question, he answers it in Ukrainian, and while I'm translating it to you guys, he steps away and he goes to the people that he's training, and then after I finish, he comes back and he listens to what you guys are saying. And today he's running a completely civilian training session. So civilians, shooters came in, and he always says that, God forbid, but it's quite possible that a time will come when, just as if you were living in a house and taking an umbrella with you, in case of the rain, you will also have take a shotgun with you in case of a drone defense. So these are the people who are still living, so to speak, in a frontline zones, but not in the direct frontline zones, but unfortunately the front is getting closer, and they came here because they've seen him on Facebook, or they know people who have trained with him, or they know people that went through his military courses and have friends and acquaintances that those are the people who understand that using a shotgun may become necessary even in a civilian life, when traveling, moving between cities and villages, visiting families in regions like Chernihiv or Sumy could be quite crucial to have a shotgun on you. And again, this is why while I'm translating, he goes out and gives them tasks, and right now he's sitting in the car watching them execute the tasks. He's looking what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, and whenever he has a chance, he steps out and helps them while I'm translating. And regarding the question from Firefella, regarding the communication with military leadership and commanders, there are competent people who accept criticism and understand its purpose. These are the individuals who genuinely care about their units. They're quite active communication, specifically Ivan, with commanders of such units as Achilles, K2, and also Special Operation Forces. Training centers are also using the programs he had developed and he had helped write, and he wrote courses for them, trained their instructors, and they are implementing his knowledge and in practice, and constantly trying to integrate it further. For example, the commander of Achilles even stated during a general roundtable that infantry weapons need to be changed, that there should be a shift away from rifles and carbines, and that infantry should be equipped with shotguns. And according to him, what he said, that only assault units should have a 50-50 mix of shotguns and rifles, while support units and drone operators should move away from rifles as they are not as effective enough in this context. On different levels, we are also pushing this idea from multiple directions in order to save more lives. At the same time, Gunboy Ukraine and Ivan is being contacted by friends from NATO countries such as France and Baltic states, Poland. They understand that God forbid, this kind of warfare can become a threat for their own soldiers as well. So they are asking whether he could train their personnel, and Ivan tells them that he can coordinate with the military leadership of his current unit to organize deployment of him and additional instructors for training. So right now, this communication is already happening higher than our level, so not at our level, but at the level of commanders between the unit's leaders and foreign counterparts in France who are interested in organizing such training. And a little step back from the main idea, there's this movement, but in a somewhat strange way it's happening. For example, military leadership sees value in sending Ivan and his instructors abroad to train foreign forces, but at the same time they do not see a clear way to properly integrate his knowledge here in a systematic, effective, and supported structure within our own forces. And if he turns fully in a formal instructor role within the armed forces of Ukraine, due to the bureaucracy and his officer status, he would not be working in the field and he will not be training people directly. Instead, he will be placed behind a computer and a bunch of paperwork. So that is something he obviously doesn't want, and because he does not see it as a way to develop further or to maximize the impact in saving lives, he's continuing to do it on a more on a basis of volunteering work that he's doing now.
Thank you. I can't believe that he's talking to us and then nipping out and training the troops while he's chatting to us. What an
He's a
absolute top!
multitasker.
What a top bloke! Absolutely stellar. Well done. Send him my regards, Sasha.
Well done. I mean, it's really good, so good to get to talk to both of you. How do you guys feel about what's the vibe like? Now I've been home for a few weeks from Ukraine, and it was just starting to warm up into real summer. What's your feeling about the trajectory of things in society and the war this summer after such a hard winter?
Траєкторія в суспільстві досить цікава. Багато кого, які родини вже зацепила ця війна, бо в більшості хтось служить, так, і якби це досить сильно відчувається. Йде підтримка, так, йде розуміння. Але, на жаль, якщо заїхати там, ви були в Києві, ви бачили, так, що є такі персонажі, які, там, окей, там десь війна, вона далеко, ми тут живемо, так. Що не скажеш, наприклад, про Львів. У Львов досить згуртований, хоч він і далі від Києва, але вони розуміють, там також є такі персонажі, у яких, умовно кажучи, немає війни, але їх менше. Україна, населення України не налаштоване здаватися. Так, ми б'ємося у кожний на своєму фронті. Хтось безпосередньо в окопах, хтось волонтерить, хтось допомагає, хтось вчить, так, хтось виходить на якісь там акції протесту. Зараз досить сильно розвернулися акції відносно підняття зарплати піхотинцям. Також зараз сім'ї виходять багато з тим, щоб якби додавали військовим можливість більшої кількості відпусток. Тому війна триває, всі розуміють, що якби підіймати руки вгору ми не можемо, тому що тоді нас просто знищать так чи інакше репресіями, як це було на початку ХХ століття, чи фізично. Тому Україна в вогні, але Україна живе і Україна бореться. Шахеди досить сильно обстрілюють зараз Україну, так, постійно кожен день тривоги. Наприклад, вчора у моєї молодшої доньки був випускний з 9 класу, так, Дивишся на цих дітей і розумієш, вони живуть все життя в війні з 14-го року. І навіть був випускний, лінійка, тривога. Так, всі батьки, директор школи подивилися, ага, шахед на Згурівку, не на Бориспіль. Ну окей, далі продовжуємо лінійку. Тобто вже якби адаптувалися і живемо. Я б не сказав би, що виживаємо. Живемо. Ми адаптувалися до цього. Ми звикли до цього. Це, на жаль, поганий такий варіант звикати до цього, але що робити? Таке наше життя.
After such a difficult winter, life feels at least a little bit warmer because we don't have to freeze in the minus 30 degrees. But the trajectory of society, it's quite interesting. For many families, this war has become personal. Most people have someone serving in their family, and that reality, it really strongly felt everywhere. There is a support and there is understanding. But unfortunately, if you go, for example, into center of Kyiv, as you will maybe see it yourself, there are still some certain characters who act if the war is somewhere far away and they're simply living their normal lives, which you cannot say about Lviv, for example, although Lviv is way more far located from the front lines. It is way more united, even though people they have a clear understanding about what is happening and why, and they're more united in their help and belief, I believe, in Ukraine. And of course, there's still individuals everywhere who behave as if the war doesn't concern them, but they're way more fewer in numbers. And overall, Ukrainian society is not inclined to surrender ever. People are fighting each in their front. Some are in the trenches directly, some are volunteering, some are providing support, some are providing help to injured soldiers. So there are others are teaching, and some are participating in protests. And right now there's a strong wave of public actions demanding higher salaries for infantry soldiers. At the same time, many families are pushing for increased leave opportunities for military personnel. The war continues, and everyone understands that we cannot simply raise our hands and give up. If that happened, we would be destroyed, whether through repression like in the early 20th century, as it had happened before, or just physically. Ukraine is on fire, is in fire, but Ukraine is alive and Ukraine's resisting. So about the civilian life, shaheds are heavily striking the country, and air raid alerts happening every day. And there were quite a few difficult days in the couple of last months, or in the last months, of shahed striking just civilian houses and flats. And for example, yesterday, my sisters and my dad's younger daughter, she had her 9th grade graduation. And, you know, you look at these children, they are 15, 14, 15, and you realize that they have lived their entire lives in the state of war, so since 2014. And even at the graduation ceremony, there was an air raid alert. So everyone, parents, the school principal, they check the phone, they check the situation. It says Shaheds heading towards Zhurivka, not Borispil. So then the ceremony simply continued. And people have adapted. We are not just surviving, we are living, but we have adapted to this reality. And while it's really unfortunate thing to become accustomed to, this is our life now, and there's nothing else that we more to do, that there's nothing else we want to do more than to live and continue fighting and to win this war in the end.
Excellent. I imagine that you guys, I know you need to go soon, but I'll note that as the strikes, the Ukrainians strikes in mid range and long range into Russia have intensified and were more notable this early summer. That the Russians are now complaining after 3 or 4 days of how bad it is to live under drones attacking specifically St. Petersburg area, the complaints we've seen. I'm sure you guys have a message for those people who've, after 4 days it's too much. I wonder what they would what you'd say to people after living through 1,570 days of the same. I think it probably starts with an
Yeah.
S.
А що ми їм скажемо? Хай вони відчують на собі, як це нам жить в такому. Але на відміну від них ми б'ємо тільки по їхніх ресурсних темах НПЗ і всьому іншому. І то, що там вони інколи пишуть, що там кудись потрапили, це неефективне їхнє збиття або робота їхнього ПВО. А вони б'ють по всьому, чому можна.
We are, well, what can we say to them? That we can let them experience what it was like for us to live in this kind of reality for years, and finally they get to feel it on their own skin. But unlike them, we strike only their resource-related targets, refineries, and similar infrastructure. But when they sometimes claim that something was hit somewhere in a civilian area, most of the time, like usually, like 99.9%, it is their ineffective interception on their side or the result of their air defense system at work, because there are a lot of videos coming from that side where you can see how their interception is not working to intercept anything. It's just helping us to strike even more land on the Russian territory. So meanwhile, they just strike everything they can. So yeah, let them feel it, let them live in it as well.
Yeah, talk to me after a couple of years, and then maybe we'll have some sympathy for you, but probably not. Mark, I think, and Markers, I think Ivan and Alexandra need to get on with their day.
Okay, so if that's the case, I'd just like to thank Sasha and Ivan for coming and talk to us today. It's absolutely brilliant, especially if you're still running training courses in the background. I can't believe he's doing that. What a star. Thank you
Дякуємо,
both
друзі.
ever so much.
Thanks so
Slava
much for your
Ukraini.
insights.
Дуже дякую вам, друзі, і надію, що у нас ще буде не один ефір. Міцно вас обіймаю і пішов тренувати. Залишаю вам Олександру, можете ще їй позадавати питання.
Thank you so much, friends. We're really happy to be back here, and we really hope that it won't be our last live session, because we do like to talk, and especially we do like to talk with you guys. And he's sending you a really warm hug, and he's heading back to training now, but he is leaving me with you guys. So if you have a few more questions, feel free to ask me, and if I can answer that, I'll be more than happy to do that.
Можеш розказати?
Perfect.
I also have a really good information to share that if you want, I can do about how our training course is getting international.
Oh, absolutely. Do
Absolutely.
tell us
Yeah,
that.
please.
Yes, please. Yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Yeah, minor difficulty. So a couple of weeks ago, I got contacted on Instagram by a student from, I believe, Cornell University, and his name is Vance Fulton. So he came across actually our interviews, I believe, either Twitter or on Spotify, this conversation with Volya Radio that we did, and he was really interested in our shotgun doctrine, so our anti-drone shotgun doctrine, and he sat down with us, and we also had this kind of interview, and he had already, so what he's doing, he is writing a full article for Cornell University about the anti-drone shotgun use, mostly based on our conversation that we had at Volya Radio over the last 6 or 8 months or so. And he had few additional questions that he wanted to directly ask Ivan and me. So now he had almost completely finished this really, really good, really informative piece about shotgun doctrine. And he had connected such an amazing structural, I don't know, just information. And it's so well written, and it has all the important points there. So as soon as that will be available for public, I will also share it with you guys, because it was also possible thanks to you, and thanks to you inviting us to talk at Volya Radio and share our information and knowledge. So the main idea was to discuss his article on the use of shotguns as the countermeasure against fiber optic FPV drones. And there's one line that he highlighted all throughout his article, and that is something that Ivan said. And if armies are not translated shotgun training, they are training for the wars that no longer exist. And I was really happy to be a part of that article, and also really thankful to you guys to giving us this space and for giving the opportunity for that article to be born.
Well, that's so true. If what he said is so true, if you're not training, you're training for the last war. So good that you get some publicity out of it. We'll have to see if we can get that young fella Kale and or maybe the Alan Brewer when he comes over. We'll have to do a video hookup again. But we're happy to talk to you guys anytime. But when Alan is in country in a little while, hopefully we can do a video hookup and see your shooting.
That would be great, actually, to get Alan involved and do a video, pop it on YouTube, get some eyes on this fabulous training that you've
As
been
long as
doing.
he's not better than me.
Well, I have a feeling that Alan will not be better than you, purely because I know Alan and he's a lover, not a fighter. War Doggo, go ahead, my friend.
With all the excitement to enlarge scale and bring as much support as we can to the initiative of Ganbro Ukraine, namely Ion and Alexandra, in saving Ukrainian people on duty, but not all only, as we've heard today, also volunteers, people from civilian professions, who this or other way, unfortunately, are, as many others, on the threat of drone attacks and strikes in Ukraine, are applying for the training. And as we already know from the interview today, that the trainer approach is getting also international, in a sense of having the interest from foreign academical circles and also from foreign militaries, in order to let's say to learn to start getting the topic not only theoretically important but also practical implications. I've spotted today during our discussion two interesting things to deep dive. First and the foremost, sharing you the context that you most probably will notice when you travel to Ukraine, that many people, especially people from military, clearly distinguish when speak, avoiding to say in Ukrainian the word last, meaning ostani. That was the last meeting, people usually say, while Ukrainian will say, especially now, as of the war, people will say the furthest. And there is, let's say, deliberate avoidance in using the word last in the context of the discussion in all the meanings. Well, in some army facilities, you may even have your face punched if you say last. That was a fantastic last jump from a parachute. With a parachute from a plane. I mean, that's kind of the military culture, but that's something that came overall um, to the civil life. People just simply avoiding saying the word last. Just it's not uh, just coincidence, but is the life that brought this kind of the context. That's one of the interesting observation and the context to be shared from our discussion, a part of the professional topic of anti-drone shotgun, and overall the progress of the trainings and everything that your efforts, your help and support are enabling you and Alexandra doing a fantastic work that we've heard today. And the second one is a beautiful word, moharich. Moharich, which if you want an easy translation, it would be kind of a celebrative booze, but using it just a vulgar booze, just simply cutting off all the context behind the word moharich. It's a beautiful Ukrainian word from a past ancient Turkish origin. It's back from, I would say, Kyiv-Rus borderline Cossack times, which is having the context of how to properly put it around. The word overall is generally believed to have entered Ukrainian language through Turkish languages and ultimately derives from the Arabic word muharaji, meaning expenses or outlays or costs. Like the rough pass would be like from the Arabic to Turkish languages and then to Ukrainian. And the historical meaning is that originally Moharich was not simply a party or a celebration. It was kind of customary treat that sealed the transaction, after buying like livestock or land or a house or making another important agreement, one of the parties would pay for a drink or food. So that's exactly we're getting closer to the meaning of the word Moharich. This served kind of several social functions. One is publicly confirmed that the deal has been completed, or demonstrating the goodwill between the parties, also providing the witness that the agreement has taken place, and reducing kind of the likelihood of the later disputes. That's how in the past this in traditional or rural communities where formal written contracts were mostly uncommon, the Moharich could function as a symbolic ratification of the agreement. And of course, the evolution of the meaning came to, let's say, to today's perception in a sense of, I owe you a drink. That could be the best context shared, but not only limiting to that, because it's actually kind of transactional thing. And when Ivan was mentioning that when the soldiers are coming back from the deployment and they are passing by to meet, and they're saying your training, your knowledge that you have shared literally saves lives, and Zmena Mohorich is said in Ukrainian. It means I owe you a drink, but there is much wider context behind that. You gave me something that I literally used to the most possible extent, and that was very helpful. And here is my grateful return transaction for that. So it's not only limiting with the drink, but this word, Ukrainian word Mohorich of the Arabic Turkish origin requires additional context. As soon as Volya Radio is a great place where the context about Ukraine is shared, and this is the ancient word that requires a bit of a context that I'm really happy to share with you, and I really look forward for people who enjoyed today's show to check the nest with the fundraiser of the shotgun training efforts that Ivan and Alexandra are conducting with your support, with the targets, with the training equipment, with lots of the things that help to make those efforts effective, and literally saving lives. So that's what you do when you press the link in the nest that is leading you to the fundraiser page of Give Butter, or you type in your browser givebutter.com/shotgun. That's exactly how you can get to the fundraiser page. You can read lots of details that guys are ready to share with you. You can see the donations flying in live. You can wrap your donations in the nice words you would like to share with Ivan and Alexandra. And of course, guys are reading all of the messages, and of course are happy to be connected with you. As you understand from our today's conversation, the communication is important, sharing the knowledge is important, and this is the knowledge that saves lives. That was the context. That was a great episode. Back to you, Mockers. Back to you, Firefella, Will, everyone. As always, hugs and love from Ukraine.
Cheers, mate.
All the hugs, all the hugs and love. Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, I've had a little rest this morning. It's been different. So, quick roundup of the news, because it would appear that there is these what they called fuel shortages are now starting to reach Moscow and St. Petersburg. Oh no. So yeah, I'm just waiting for them to get particularly upset about that. The gasoline problem has affected the entire Tatneft network of stations, including St. Petersburg and Moscow. So that's good to hear. And also, I'm hearing a scurrilous rumor that the employee database of the Alibuga plant, Alibuga, that place where they build drones by using, teenagers. The employee database has been breached by Ukrainian special services. Internal employee chats have also been compromised. And I'm just going to say that might be some interesting reading. So expect a bit of that to be featuring in the next days, perhaps. That sounds very exciting to me. I love a bit of spilling of the tea. So get with the gossip. Do let us know. Is there anything in particular you need to mention, Firefella, before we close down for the day?
Not in terms of booms and woe, but I will just make one last appeal. So I think we've had an excellent show today, listening to Ivan and Sasha about what they do and how they do it and why they do it and their frustrations. And can't believe that they were still training while they were chatting to us. So I'll just take me out to superstar. But I would make one last plea to everybody in the space. So please, please, please find a $5, $10, $20, $50 even, and stick it in the fundraiser. It's up there, shared. It's the first one in the nest from War Doggo. Bless his cotton socks. Well done, sir. givebutter.com/shotgun training. So please, everyone, if you do anything else today and you want to support Ukraine, give them some money. Let's get them some money so they can keep this training going and save even more lives and vehicles. So that was brilliant. Thank you, Mockers. Slava Ukraini.
Heroam Slava.
Heroam Slava.
Slava Natsi.
Shmir
Yeah,
Toraham.
Spared for the ham.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what do we have coming up tomorrow? Let me look at the calendar very quickly. We have at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 a.m. in Ukraine. Fella Who Bonks and James will have their segment. And then at 1 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Kyiv, we will have Good Morning Kyiv with Will and Jeff, followed by Mockers and Firefella, as always. So we will see you guys then, and with that, I will say Skirl Bachman.
Paul
Join us on the radio. We look forward to seeing you again. Your audience. Your audience.